And now on Who's Views, it's time for the latest headlines with JT and the Whotastic panel.
Yesterday was a real reminder that trans people cannot publicly have success. We are not allowed to do well without getting just a slew of shit on social media. Like, I should be able to do my job without being abused. You know, particularly on Twitter. I mean, I deleted my main account years ago, but I looked at what people were saying on the So I Got to Thinking account, and it's really disgusting. Like, people should not be allowed to say those things about someone. Yeah, and it's just because I'm trans. If I was cisgender, I don't think there would be an issue. But I need to ignore that because, you know, I won.
Hello, everybody. It's Who's Views. Welcome to your big show. It is Sunday, and it's headlines. And have you heard? Yes, Juno Dawson is playing the victim card. Could you tell? It's a big show tonight. It is, of course, Sunday, the 2nd of February, 2025. Lots coming up here because, yes, we're going to be talking about that again. We're also going to be talking about what I call deflecting issues. Doctor Who magazine was released this week as well, and we're going to be looking at some of the news items that were around and about during the week. It is great to see you all. Thank you for joining us again for another headlines here from Who's Views. Let's crack on with this straight away because I've got Paul and I've got third Dr. Ian. How are you two?
Not bad. How are you? Good evening.
It's good to see you both. Good to see you both. Listen, before we go anywhere, let's open this month's calendar page, shall we? It's February on the Daryl Joyce calendar. Let's see what's inside it. Yes, it is that one, everyone. Can you see that? Look at that.
Oh, fantastic. Lovely.
Isn't that
very
gorgeous?
Nice. Yeah.
It's the Terror of the Autons page there.
If you're going to do this every new month, could you do like the round window, the square window, and tease us a bit before we do?
Oh, I could do actually. Yeah, but look at that. Look at that. Where is it there?
That is lovely. Really nice.
Could you go? But that's it. Well done, Daryl. Absolutely gorgeous piece of artwork there from Daryl's calendar for 2025. I just needed something that's going to start the show on a high, actually, guys, because it's all down from here on in. It's great to see you all here, everybody. As usual, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody that's got in touch after our shows this week. We had two headlines last week. We had Sunday and we had the Monday. Of course, we also had our third part, didn't we, guys, in our season 7 at 55 celebrations. And I want to say a huge thank you to everybody that has emailed us and messaged us about all these shows, all of which are, of course, still available on the channel now. And on this week, we completed it by looking at our very own Liz Shaw with Caroline John, which was a great show to do. Actually, really enjoyed that. Wow. What a little series we put together there. And it's just so nice, guys, getting all these messages and these emails from people saying that they've enjoyed it as well. You know,
there were lovely positive shows to do, JT, and I enjoyed them very much. You were sadly missed Ian on the Caroline John one. I really enjoyed that too. Right.
I definitely was sad to miss that one, but the highlight for me was obviously, as it was always going to be, the Spearhead one. That was just absolute heaven. Absolute heaven.
Yeah.
And it was fun. But thank you for everybody for your comments. Thank you for your messages. And thank you for joining us on those live streams as well. As usual, I'd like to say a huge thank you to everybody that has been getting in touch this week. Amongst them were Mark Gibson, Agent Smith, me, Lorraine Sheridan, Cybermatch Strikes, Exorthium, Thomas McCarthy, Paul Shawnee, Craig Dunlop, S. Rogerson, Domgo, Rob Alexander, John Imrie, Starstream 1, Starstruck, Count of Downable, MW36101, David Phillip, John Booth, Judge Joseph Dredd 1989, Black Navy American Vet, Chris Khalid, we've got here as well Stephen L. Reese, Tony Graydon, Alan Brown, to Miss J, thank you very much for your email, and to KDK7. So thank you all so much for getting in touch. Really, really appreciate it. Wow, the list is getting bigger every week. If you want to get in touch with us, then you can. The email address is whosviews1@gmail.com. whosviews1@gmail.com. It's great to see you and great to hear from you. Right, so let's crack on, shall we, guys? Before we go anywhere with the news that's coming from the freshly published Doctor Who magazine, have you seen what's happened on the BBC Studios social media for Doctor Who in the last couple of hours?
No, we haven't,
No.
JT. No.
Yes. No, you haven't. Well, to be quite honest, you haven't missed much because it's absolute nonsense. Now, part of the show tonight is going to be about deflecting from the big story this week, which was, of course, the Juno Dawson big story. There has been an awful lot of, I think personally, and I'm going to be illustrating it, focus on other things rather than that particular one. They must know that the feedback from fandom is intense and not that good. But BBC Studio carries on not listening, doesn't it? Because this is what it's published on its social media in the last couple of hours. The planet that took me in, they were kind of, is a quote from one of the stories. I think it's a Gatwa one. I couldn't tell you now because I'm not that interested. But look at this. To mark 40 years since one of the Doctor's contemporaries, the nefarious Rani, took to the screen, here's a guide to other Time Lords in Doctor Who history. And again, they're pushing that narrative of this whole timeless child thing. They're not going to let it go, are they? They're really not going to. They're going to push. They're going to double down. They're going to carry on with it, and they don't seem to care or understand that this is killing the show. I, of course, went on there more or less immediately when seeing this and said, basically, you're not reading the route. And I've had about 6,000 million comments coming back saying, well, actually, it's not that much. It's a handful. You know, it's a handful.
But saying you're wrong, completely wrong.
I'm the usual or phobe or whatever, you know, blah, blah, blah. And why does it seem to come from deranged children? Because when I realised that it's children that are getting back to me, I actually am very careful because they are absolutely brainwashed kids. What's going on?
I'm sure they're not just deranged children. There's deranged adults there as well, I think, to be fair. But
well, they're the ones
the mental acuity of a child.
Allegedly, I must add.
Oh yes, please add the allegedly. Thank you to Digby Strawbridge who's in the chat with us with your super chat. Thank you, Liz Shaw forever, and so say all of us. Well done, you Digby. Thank you for that. I hope you enjoyed the show. But yes, thank you. But did you guys in the chat see this? Have you seen this over the last couple of hours? I just can't believe it. They're just ignoring everything else and they're going to carry on and carry on. What's going to happen when the show ends and all these kids that are on this blooming thing freak out? Are the BBC going to be there for them then? No, because they'll close down the office, toddle off and go and get another job, and that's it, isn't it? They won't care.
The bizarre thing about these law changes are if they were trying to make him more mysterious, the Doctor more mysterious, it's not worked. It's just giving you more of an info dump, isn't it? You know, when Andrew Cartmel did it, at least it was a bit vague. You know what I mean? When they did it in the 80s, you know?
And it didn't rewrite the history of the character because John wouldn't allow him.
Yeah.
Ian.
I think they're just digging it into a hole and it'll be left in a hole and they won't have anywhere to go. We'll be all right because, you know, we've been through it before and we've got all the original 26 years. And the children, be they actual children or adults with the mental acuity of children, will just be stuck in this hole. They'll have nowhere to go. They'll just be rooting around for another program that they can attach themselves to, like little parasites, and drag that one down instead. And they won't be able to follow RTD because he'll just go to some, like we've always said, some Channel 4 or Channel 5, 9 o'clock post Watershed.
He'll be so lucky.
QIA Shagfest, won't he?
Yeah,
and they'll probably not be able to follow him to that. But he won't give a damn about that.
I think there's that one more drama in him, and I think he's done because he's going to end on a massive massive fail here. And the industry is changing. It's slow. It's very slow, but it's changing. Rick Storm, hello to you. 9 days until the season 9 standard Blu-ray release. It's out tomorrow, my friend. If you're in the UK. Are you in the UK? Because if you are, it hits your shelves tomorrow. I was actually thinking about this earlier. about how to say if you're getting this from your shops. Well, I thought there's no shops now. There's HMV I can think of that you can get it from. Anywhere else? Can you two think of anywhere else you can get this from apart from the Who shop?
Not anymore. I mean, WH Smith used to have videos and DVDs. They've stopped doing that now, haven't they? And they're going to close some of their shops as well, which is quite
shocking,
scary.
isn't it? About WH Smith. Do you know what they need to do, Paul? Because WH Smith is one of our oldest. It's over 100 years old, isn't it? Well over 100 years old.
Yeah.
Newsagents, stationers. They need to get the vinyl in quick. Get the vinyl in and get it back in numbers. And start getting people through the door again. Hello and welcome to Right Charlie, who's saying evening Who's viewers. Hello to you. It's nice to see you. Not seen you in the chat before. Welcome. Graham is saying to me, JT, you will need a secretary at this rate. Well, I do that myself. I put on a nice little outfit. Do you remember Rosemary in Hong Kong Phooey? And that sort of stuff. We've got all that. It's lovely to see you all. We have got a big show coming up for you, everybody. Great to see you. What else we got here? Lots of chat coming on about this, so it's really great. Woodhouse122 is saying quite rightly, here in Sheffield we used to have the Galaxy 4 shop that sold DVDs. Ian and I both know Galaxy 4 very, very well, as does our Phil that joins us every now and then, because Phil actually worked in there part-time. Woodhouse122. I used to go and as occasionally
did he just stock all the shelves with copies of Time Lash? I bet he did.
It was always face out on the shelf. And we used to go there for events, and we all knew Ben and Andy that ran it at the time as well. Over 20 years they had that business, and it's now available online. I have to say, it's just all available online. But that shop, wow, that shop was brilliant, wasn't it? And we had some happy times there.
Yeah, some fantastic times there, meeting some fantastic people, most of whom sadly no longer with us. But yeah, great times.
Yep, very true. Yeah, we had that. And we used to go to.
Obviously, Sheffield.
Let's crack on with the stories we've got for you tonight, guys, because we do have a very big show. For someone that says he doesn't use social media and doesn't really like it, RTD is never off the blooming thing, is it? Have you seen this one that he was putting on his Instagram this week? Yes, there he is there, gawping, with a load of very impressionable young people who's probably going to follow every single word he says now. So that's another set of possible alleged dangerous things there. But there he is. This is SODA in Manchester, SODA, the School of Digital Arts. I did a Q&A, says RTD, and the students were so bright and fun and engaged. There is hope for the world. That's a bit worrying for me, because if it's hope for the world that he thinks of, it means these kids are already radicalized. Also, lots of great hair and honor, a delight. Thank you. Do you know what I mean? There is hope for the world, he's saying. So they obviously are all following his TQ cult agenda, isn't it? And they can't tell. They're all using pronouns, and you can't tell who's a man and who's a woman. I mean, it's just bloody worrying, isn't it? Absolutely worrying. But,
photos like that just leave me feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And I'm not making any allegations here, but you go back you go back to the 1970s, and it was similar photos with somebody else, and it just, when you look at it from a modern prism, it's a little bit uncomfortable, isn't it? And it shouldn't be soda. It shouldn't be
for anyone in the audience. That's fine. Allegedly, again.
Allegedly. Hello to Kirsty and Garbage, in the chat with us, making sure, and Problem Being as well, who I've just seen is there as well. Thank you guys for looking after everybody. Make sure everybody's all right. Legion of James is saying they entered the room at Soda and all left with blue and pink hair. Yes, exactly. Garbage saying RTD did a Q&A. I wish he would do an F and an O. Absolutely. Stephen Braddock saying to us here, poor brainwashed kids. It does make you wonder, doesn't it, really?
Lovely ambassador there, I have to say. Yeah.
James Ross Thompson Mackay, nice to see you. JRTM. As they, Bad Wolf, have destroyed Doctor Who, I'm so glad they haven't remade Blake 7. Can you imagine it's made for the so-called modern audience? No, I cannot. Yeah. And I can't see Blake 7 ever coming back. And neither, as a Blake 7 fan, do I say I don't want it to come back. It's of its time. Let it that's what Doctor Who should have done. It should have stayed in its time, because they would just ruin it. Can you imagine it with all the DEI the BBC would insist on pushing into it? It would, it would be absolutely awful. And of course, it's about a group of people that are anti-establishment, for want of a better word, on this platform.
Yeah.
You're not going to get away with that now, are you? Really? Oh, can you imagine?
That's a different T word you're thinking of, isn't it?
I am, yeah, but in a sense, it is.
Yeah.
Talking of Blake 7, though, of course, we're back tomorrow here on this channel with Blake 7, Season 1, Episode 2, Spacefall review, live at 8 o'clock. Come and join us. Graham's saying to us, he looks like that devil thing in the Tennant story we reviewed in the summer. Matt, the Silent Wee Music King, is saying to us, RTD needs to step down. It's not the 2000s. JT, they need to add an LL to soda. LOL, says poor Rose. Absolutely. Sheila B in the Devotions is there with us as well. And Noodle Arms is saying to us, funny, no diversity there, RTD. Funny. I thought that was what was bringing Gatwa in was for not working. Paul Stenterford is saying to us, RTD shouldn't be allowed anywhere near impressionable young people, allegedly. So thank you for all that. Lots of you there. Lots of you there. So thank you so much for all that. But yes, I wasn't very impressed with that stuff anyway, because as I say, he has gone out of his way to say he doesn't use social media and he's on it all the time.
But he uses it to what he thinks is his advantage. But I think he looks at it so he can read it and see the feedback. Like I said before, he said to other members of the writing team not to look at social media his first time round. And now he's checking it himself. So he must know how the majority of fans feel about current Doctor Who. You know, there's no denying that, surely, you know?
Oh, absolutely. They have to. I mean, the feedback is intense. And don't forget that BBC Studios do occasionally go along and take comments off.
Yeah.
You know, I'm always surprised that they put onto the social media timing. I expect you can do that on Facebook through Meta. And you can time things. So on a Sunday around about 5 o'clock, if they drop something, I don't think somebody will be working from home, quite frankly. I think it would have been time to drop at that particular time.
Yeah.
And then it's always interesting to go back on the Monday or the Tuesday to see how many comments have gone missing that you've seen, including your own, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So, of course, it happens to me all the time. So, yes, you know, I can see mine from tonight actually disappearing. Oh, yes. Yeah, they know. They absolutely. They also know because the ratings are down. They also know because the sales figures for merchandise is down. We've only just heard today, haven't we, guys, that the plan thing from Character Options for the cuddly meep, the beep, remember? That's not going to happen now because there was no interest from the small amount of retailers we've got left.
Did I see they're doing a bogeyman figure or something, or was that made up? I saw somewhere on
I think that's made up.
And
I think any kid could possibly make their own up.
Probably, yes. It'd be much cheaper, certainly, I'd imagine, yeah.
I think they just have to get to a point where they try something different, which is acknowledging reality and just understand that the stuff that sells is the classic series stuff. That flies off the shelves, it's in high demand, make more of it, you'll make money. And the BBC will get a kickback from that. But they insist that they have to keep doing this new series stuff that nobody wants. And we know the people that watch it don't buy merchandise, so they're not going to buy it. So it's just going to sit there and then go to landfill. What's the point? There's absolutely no point.
I saw a post on Facebook earlier, and people are still in denial. Someone said with a straight face, it's still popular. 2 million views is quite good.
Oh,
what?
Oh, God.
Honestly,
I had a bit of a ding dong with somebody at the back end of previous week, and they were insisting that they were looking forward to Series 3. I said, I don't seriously think Series 3 is going to happen. Yeah, shoot, he can't wait. I said, he can't wait so much that he's sold his flat. And he said, no, he's always going to do that. He's busy doing other things. And they were just in total, utter denial.
Yeah.
And everything was fantastic and everything was rosy. It's like, you know, the band playing on the deck of the Titanic as it goes down. They're still going to get drowned no matter how positive they are.
It's why we've I'm not particularly bothered actually, because these people that are so protective of the show actually are very nasty. They're the nastiest breed of Doctor Who fan, and I don't really like calling them Doctor Who fans, but the nastiest breed of alleged fans that I've ever encountered. And I've been a Doctor Who fan since the 70s, since I was a kid. And I've never seen anything like this in fandom. And it's been going now since that announcement of Whittaker taking the role. It's been there since then because we had a load of alleged activists coming into the show Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just been nonsense ever. But they are all going to have some sort of breakdown when the day comes, as it inevitably is going to do, to say it's coming off the air. And that's where the BBC and Bad Wolf, who will possibly be parting ways at that point, need to be responsible and mature enough to put it out in a way where they're not all going to go into some sort of Take That, Spice Girls, Wham, Beatles meltdown with hysteria and hysterics, because it would be worse today than it was in our day. Because eventually you got over it over a couple of days. This lot will mope about it for ages and possibly could even do something stupid to themselves because they're thick. They're thick as mince, to be quite honest.
That's unfair to Mince, TT, to be fair.
Oh, I'm so sorry.
Mince anyone
has
identifies
uses.
as Mince, I'm going to say, yeah.
Yeah, we've got Stephen here. Stephen L. Rees, nice to see you, mate. Thank you for your email. I agree about RTD. There's something out there. Always felt it with what he likes on Instagram. Okay, and we've got Darren Apken saying, "Oh no, they can stay away from Blake 7." Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Craig, hiya Craig Dunlop. In honor of RTD's contribution to modern culture, I'm thinking of changing my online name to the Mouth of Moron. Leave that for him, I would say. Getting a note here from Problem Being as well that our friend Drawing Jack Rabbit is his mother isn't well, so let's send her big hugs and love to Drawing Jack Rabbit and all our best, and say hi to your mum for us. Hopefully she's going to get better. Get well soon, Drawing Jack Rabbit's mum.
Yeah.
Oh, and lots of positive thoughts for you there. Oh, really, honestly. Happy Man 050 is with us. That photo from Soda looks like they are all from Dot and Bubble.
It's like they've all been locked in the room and they can't get out, doesn't it, to be fair?
Exactly, yeah. And they're all, and Armour Ray, I'm watching you on TV. Well, good. Widescreen, lovely. Won't be posting as my internet is playing up. Oh, not you as well. Oh, goodness. What's going on in Britain today? I don't know. And Richard's saying to us, Richard Brooks, Doctor Who can return, but not right now. It needs a long rest. When it returns, the Timeless Child will be consigned to the trash heap where it belongs. I hope so, because that has had a knock-on effect to the Gatwick era, because RTD, all he had to do, as I keep saying, was come back, write proper Doctor Who, write some good drama, family drama, science fiction, baddies, monsters, the galore, bring us all back.
Just like Doctor Who, that's all.
And he didn't. He didn't. Really. He had to go off on his agenda.
It's amazing, though, isn't it, that you're this character, that for a huge chunk of your life, you're a Time Lord and you regenerate and you have different appearances and personalities, but you are the same individual. And then all of a sudden, it goes tits up as it did. But you're
literally.
Literally, yeah. And all of a sudden you find out that all of that you're not, and everything, and you're not at all, and it's all a lie, and you were a small black child who got pushed off a cliff by an evil white boy, as I think it was, naturally, and you're not a Time Lord at all, and all the rest, and you're just sort of like, yeah, tra-la-la. Now I'm some mysterious orphan that was taken in, and I was adopted by this planet, and all that, and you're just fine with it. I mean, that would screw you up, wouldn't it? I mean, the fact that it's just accepted and moved on, it's rubbish. It's absolute rubbish. The amount he cries about anything, there's an extra cloud in the sky and he's crying, I mean, and yet this entire change to his entire life is just acknowledged and carried on, tra-la-la, and he's happy about it. It's bollocks, isn't it?
And it's only suitable for the alleged activists who are quite happy with all the tick boxing that goes on from those episodes onwards.
That's all they care about. They're not fans. If they were fans, they would care about what's being done to it. If RTD was a fan, he wouldn't have done it. If Chibnall was a fan, he would have thought it was the most dumbass thing that he could possibly do. But he did it, so he's not. It's
no, because they're too busy tick boxing and making it look like they're good people, tolerant, accepting, inclusive, all this absolute nonsense. They've swallowed the DEI handbook and then preach it back, don't they? We know this.
I read somewhere that the Doctor being adopted was taken from Chibnall's own life experience. He was adopted himself, apparently. That was part of it, which is bizarre.
Well, how stupid is that?
I know.
I mean, that's the typical of a sad fan who wants to be the Doctor.
Yeah.
Get a grip. Get into reality. Get a grip, you idiot. I want to say hello to Andrew Roberts. New subscriber here. Hello, Andrew. It's nice to see you. Thank you for subscribing. I refused to watch the Christmas special, having had my fill of Gatwa's first season. I am not surprised and haven't missed it. I will therefore not bother with his second series. Yeah, I don't blame you at all. Absolutely don't blame you. We're going to be talking about the second series a little bit more, continuing what we were talking about on Monday's headline in this particular show. So stay with us. But it's nice to welcome you to Whose Views, Andrew. Everybody say hello to Andrew in the chat.
Hello, Andrew.
And very, very good to see you. The Toon Army is with us as well, saying, Richard, it can't have a long rest. Oh, it can't have a long rest. It makes far too much money for the BBC and the Welsh economy. No, well, it
Allegedly.
It doesn't. Let's just, it used to do, but it doesn't now because everything's changed. They took away all the foreign territories and Disney took it to deal with the international distribution. So Disney gives them an amount of money, undisclosed amount of money, and that's it. So the rest the BBC studios and Bad Wolf have to do basically is from merchandise. Where's that? That? The new series action figures haven't taken off. I am hearing that they are still in the character options warehouse. You can go after the show and order a Shooty Gatwa or Millie Gibson action figure, no problem. I believe that Argos are about to actually reduce them from their Christmas stock. Keep an eye on that one. Going to be 50% or more, just so they can try and get rid of them. This is what I'm hearing. Keep an eye on that if you're collecting this nonsense. But where's everything else? It's not like it was in 2005, 2006. When it comes to the Welsh economy, how does it do that? How is it bring... The amount of fans that are going to Cardiff just to look at a location has reduced dramatically since the closure of the experience. If you're in America, can you tell me, are you going to come all the way from America or Australia or anywhere else in the world just to go to Cardiff, where there's nothing to see apart from the BBC building where it's not even made now? It's made 10 minutes down the road in Bad Wolf. What is it? The Welsh economy? No, I don't agree with you, mate, because it was the Welsh government that put money into Bad Wolf. We all know that. We talked about it on this very show. I think it's the other way around.
Yeah, they're being subsidised allegedly by the Welsh government, aren't they? So
yeah, they gave them money, didn't they?
Yeah.
I think when Disney officially step away, then they're out of it, and the BBC, if it wants to sell it to foreign territories again, is going to have to go and open up negotiations with all these foreign territories right from scratch and just say, do you want to buy this show that has been flatlining for the last 2 years and has nobody interested in it? And what are all those countries going to say? You know, they're not going to rush to it with open arms and say, here, take our money, are they?
Exactly.
They're just going to laugh at them and say, toddle off. We're not interested.
Especially if the quality isn't in tune with the current world. Can you imagine having to go into America now selling as your prime job Series 1 and Series 2 of Dr. DEI woke?
Yeah.
Can you imagine? Because everybody's backing off now. They're all quite. I mean, have you seen how many businesses have suddenly taken all their DEI policies and ripped them up, painted walls with those stupid flags and all those alleged motivational words? The world's changing, and Doctor Who is a couple of years behind it. Terry T, is nice to see you. The change in the US, which is what I was just trying to imply, has shown that woke is ended, possibly for good, or at least for the next 4 years. I doubt RTD and the like will ever make a comeback. I'm hoping it's going to be for a lot longer. We need common sense back in, and if we can get that going over 4 or 5 years, maybe even longer, then maybe the world has a chance. I wonder how many Gatwa figures have been sold and whether they've reached double figures yet, says Paul Stenterford. Yeah, Ark in Space is with us saying, ugh, not Space Babies merchandise. Can you imagine? And also we've got Stephen O'Reilly saying, Bogeyman, they assumed his pronouns immediately. Good point.
Well, he was a baddie after all. There we are.
Absolutely. Oh yeah. Terry T's back with us again, saying the money is certainly in Holder Media. Classic stays classic and always makes the money. That's right. And we've pointed that out on several times, haven't we, actually? Because of if you look at the season box sets, always number one, always selling out, always huge. So they are fantastic. Hello to the Macronon. If this was about making money, this would be over long ago. This is about the message. If only this were tied to profits, hence the BBC needs their license fee. Oh, don't start me on the license fee. And we've got a bloody government that seems to be propping them up, I tell you. Julianne is saying to us, hi, Julianne, loads of shill channels still insisting that Series 3 is going ahead, the poor dears. Well, at the moment, of course, it's not. Doctor Who is closed down. It's out of production. And I really hope that these people who are saying all this have actually looked at this, because this is the new edition of Doctor Who magazine, which hit the shelf, not plural, hit the shelf of various Tesco branches and WH Smith around the country this Thursday. So awful cover. But yeah, I mean, you can't find this thing that much now. WH Smith, if that does go down, God forbid it goes down, that's another place where Panini are not going to be selling their Doctor Who magazine. Tesco is the only, correct me if I'm wrong in the chat, but Tesco seems to be the only supermarket that's selling it now. And my local one, which is massive, Paul, had 5 copies on the shelf on Thursday. I borrowed one, as I usually do for you Who viewers, to go and have my coffee and look at this so we can report it on the show. Put it back, 5 copies. Today I was in there to get some milk, 5 copies. That's all they have. So, you know.
I was going to say, I think I saw it in Asda last year, but I can't remember, mid-summer time, something like that. I don't know if it's been there since, though.
New competition then, Who viewers. Doctor Who
spot
magazine.
the Doctor Who magazine in the shop.
Yes. And how many copies? Who's views 1@gmail.com. Let's have a go at this. Well, yes, going back to Julianne's point there, let's have a look at this, because of course you get all these things in Doctor Who magazine, don't you? But the one I always go to look at, and I wasn't even going to, I looked at his editorial. The editors are anyway. Let's go to this, because this is Russell T. Davies's page. It's quiet. The studios are quiet. Old metal beams tick and creak. A distant door slams as someone passes through. Outside, an engine, then gone. You can tell he's some sort
of... Is that him leaving the building?
Yeah, I mean, come on. Please. Yeah. He's set the scene, Who viewers. Carries on. The studios of the Bad Wolf in Old Cardiff Town sit and wait. They are calm. They are patient. They were once a factory that made TVs. So, I see. They were once a factory that made TVs. So it's always felt like the right home for this show. And they occupy a massive footprint. You might have seen on behind the scenes footage, though perhaps even the widest of wide shots doesn't make it clear. The studios are so large, they have a road running between them, indoors. An actual indoor road, 2 lanes, lorries trundling to and fro under a metal roof. True fact, the magnificent BBC HBO show Industry is made here, and yet I've never ever seen their studio. I've got mates in the cast and never bumped into them. I don't know where they are. The show is just vaguely over there. That's how big this is. And now the Whoniverse sits in darkness. There's a vast war between set, our biggest set yet, the heart of the show, once home to 200 extras standing just over there. And over there, a unique and terrifying shot from this year's Doctor Who episode 5, dismantled but never gone, the space marked forever by the horrors that lurk there. It's been quite a run, hurtling through what's called the First Order. No, that's not a Star Wars reference, though I love its grandiosity. It simply means the First Order of 3 specials, 2 seasons of Doctor Who, and a 5-episode spin-off, 26 episodes in total. Shooting them felt like forever. It felt like 10 seconds. And now the TARDIS sits in shadow, like a secret. The studio will flare into life briefly, I hope, in February for a few days. I'm writing this in early January, so plans aren't confirmed yet, but we'll probably shoot material for publicity and those 1,000 electronic press kits you have to do, and maybe trailers. I wonder. I remember those specifically shot trailers we'd do in the old days. The 9th Doctor saying, "Do you want to come with me?" Donna Noble in the firelight. The 10th Doctor and Martha split screening with each other. The 11th Doctor and Amy Pond lying on grass in glorious cinematic 3D. Whatever happened to those things? I liked them. Maybe it's time to do that again. But we'll see. It's too soon to say. So in truth, the pause, the dust, it's a trick of the light. The real work has simply moved on a massive scale to London and Ireland and beyond, transferring to screens blazing with light and pixels. Production has now moved out of the physical space into the digital. So many people working so hard, blistering away on pictures and sound. Mind you, I've sat in Doctor Who FX meetings for 20 years now, and I still have no idea what the FX people are talking about. They say this hasn't been QC'd, but we'll take off the LUT and invert into magpie filters till we retroflow the binary lumps and shimmy the overlumps into the Hopmeister field. Yeah, that looks pretty, I say. But there's a proper excitement building amongst the team as the season approaches. That shot you saw in the Christmas trailer, the last shot of all the Doctor flying and falling or tumbling, that's just one shot in the middle of the most astonishing sequence. The cartoon man you saw, his voice is an old friend. Guess who? And I've just heard the final 6 minutes of music for this year's episode 5, and I've played it over and over again, maybe 6, 7, 8 times. I love it so much. Murray Gold has written the most epic symphony, and I can't wait for you to hear it. The show in 2025 is going to be bigger and madder and darker, taking wilder swings than ever. And while the episodes grow and gather and coalesce, the studios creak. Dust in the air, an old coffee cup on its side where a titan will soon stand on your television. Plans sit waiting. This suspense is actually Doctor Who being alive in 2025. And the important thing is, here comes season 2. A whole new season with monsters and friends and old faces and legacy and lore and myth and pantheons and beasts and quarries and spaceships and cameos and robots and rebels and shocks and songs and lasers and Mrs. Flood. I am confident. Doctor Who is forever and the future is bright. Who's he kidding?
He knows how to pad out an article, doesn't he? Is he on a word count? Because he could have done it half the time. You know what I mean?
It's just word salad, isn't it? That's all it is.
Yeah.
Word salad. He's talking crap. He's talking absolute crap. He's trying to flog something like season 2 like it's something new. It's been sat on a shelf gathering dust for a year and a bit. It's woefully out of date, as we've talked about before. The man's an absolute fantasist, allegedly, in my opinion.
What it does seem to confirm, though, because various commentators have been claiming they've already made a 2025 Christmas special. Nothing else has been made since Joy to the World. That was the last thing they made. So there we go.
Nothing. They have not made a 2025 Christmas special.
Yeah.
No.
Not at all. It's not there. So as of the moment, there is no 2025 Christmas special. Spread the word. I mean, he's just said in Doctor Who magazine, the studios are closed. Doctor Who is currently out of production. They're currently finishing up the war between the whatever it is, the Sea Devil spin-off. I'm very worried about how I say that now because of all these idiots chanting something else across the world. But I'm very worried about saying that. But it's just absolutely ridiculous, isn't it? Yeah, what's happening here? I mean, these people who are going, it's going again. Nothing has been confirmed. I hope they've all read that from Doctor Who magazine, because he's actually said it's in the dark, which means it's shut down.
Yeah, and the best case scenario for them, once they've broadcast season 2, that won't finish until end of May, end of June, whatever it is. If they're going to wait till then to see what the reaction is to that and the viewing figures, then they get the green light to start again. There will be no other season till probably 2027 if you're lucky, if at all.
Yeah, well, if at all. Yeah, I mean, they might be able to churn out 3-hour specials, maybe 4 for next year, because he has written scripts.
Yeah.
Which I take it would be hour, and they can flog it as one of those break years they did, right?
Yeah.
Back in the day. So they can say they can do that. So they could get 3 or 4, including a Christmas episode, which would have to be done very, very quickly. There's no way they can get 2025 in my estimation. Yeah. There's no way they can get one done now because it's February. Oh. So unless they film it in June, and it's a massive turnaround. But it's interesting, isn't it? Because a lot of the cast, a lot of the crew are currently looking for other jobs, and sending CVs off and stuff like that. I mean, we're hearing this. They're applying for the jobs. They're moving. They're going to do work for other people. Then they don't get employed by Bad Wolf or the BBC if they're not working. That's the thing with that industry.
So they must know there's no continuing production, otherwise they would be looking for jobs, would they? Let's be honest.
Well, it would be very difficult if suddenly a call came through saying we're all going to be back in July. Oh, I'm sorry, I'm doing a movie. Oh, I'm in Scotland. Oh, I'm in there. Or, it's going to be very difficult to bring them back. So with no commitment from them to say yes, there's going to be more, and you're going to get 16 episodes to film in such and such time. So that's going to be nearly 2 years' work, possibly. That's not happened.
No.
So they're all now looking for other work. We're getting a lot of you in the chat. Thank you so much. Keep it coming. Sean Cry is saying it will probably remain over there, empty and desolate.
Hopefully.
Scottish Davros is with us saying it doesn't deserve a 3rd season. You have to entertain the earn the respect of both fans and the not we, and all this deserves is cancellation. Enspiel is with us. I gave up on Doctor Who magazine 2 to 3 years ago, and I don't miss it. I get the occasional special and will buy older comic reprints, backup strips, the Daleks and the Cybermen. I know what you mean. I think we're in the same boat as well. I'm actually considering buying the new Chronicles on the 1970 season, because that ties in with what we've just been doing. I might do, but it's a lot of money for what they're asking, and I don't really want to support the brand because it's been typical of Doctor Who. It's not for you. It's not for you. I mean, that whole thing they did last year, the year before, do you remember, about Pride and the TQ cult, made me sick, quite frankly. It was so homophobic as well, because it was all about that side of stuff. More about that coming up in this particular one.
I think those specials they do, JT, those specials, ultimately they're just regurgitations of specials they've done before, just in a different format. They rarely say anything new these days. It's just pretty much same thing they've said before, maybe slightly worded differently, but nothing new. And it's just dull. It's the classic
Peter
series.
Haining syndrome, isn't it? All over again.
It is. It's their evergreen content, isn't it? It's evergreen content. It's stuff that you can take and you can publish at any time. And if you did it 5 or 10 years ago, enough time's passed that you can do it again with a different cover, so you can fool enough people to think that it's something new, when actually it isn't. And that entire brand just needs to die.
It will do this time. When this show comes off, Ian, I don't think Doctor Who magazine will survive. They'll try and stagger it out, but there's no way it's going to do a year, maybe even 2 years, because guess what? None of us are there to support it.
Yeah, there's no goodwill to keep it going, not at all.
Not at all.
No, and because they, like the TV show, have alienated those of us who would have, okay, they might look at us as being old, but we love the show. We know the show, and had the content been decent, we would have been buying the magazine as well. But no, they had to go the same way as the show. So that's why
most people like our age have been buying it since it was 12p back in 79. You know what I mean?
Since number one, in 1979. And they just dissed on us and peed on us from a great height, like the TV show, because they're all following the TV show, aren't they? And the examples laid down by the alleged showrunners of the TV show. Noodle Arms is saying they're so hung up on 910, without them, RTD would have nothing to talk about. And Duncan Evans, higher to you. I gave up buying Doctor Who magazine last year for the first time since the first issue since he first got an issue in the 80s. Yeah. Mike Disney was saying that thing from RTD was so badly written. Yeah. Sean Cryer, he's no idea. Stop. And Matt, nobody cares, RTD. Hello to Mark A. Rice, who's in the chat as well. I've got a second thing from you there. I didn't see the first one. Sorry about that. And Legion of James is saying, well, that was a load of words saying pretty much nothing. Who's he trying to convince? Himself? His ego? Mark Greaves, you may think that, but I can't possibly comment.
But it's allegedly true.
And Just Jordan's with us. How's your dad? Sorry, is anyone lost, says Just Jordan. It reads like rambles of a madman to me.
You could imagine, couldn't you, that RTD wrote some of the scripts for Kamala Harris? You know, do you remember that one about where she rambles on about the passage of time?
No, I didn't listen to most of it.
Oh my God! It's just she says something about the passage of time, and there's nothing more important than the passage of time, because with the passage of time, you notice the passage of time, and that was literally it. And it's just absolute horseshit. But you can imagine that this is what.
Did she get that from a Chris Chibnall, Jodie Whittaker spirit, do you think?
Very
Does she buy Doctor Who magazine, do you think?
She's that one person, the overseas market.
Terrible, isn't it? We've got here Problem Being, nice to see you, songs, and Chris Carlin saying, nobody cares about your ego, RTD. And Komodo, hiya. Oh no, not more Murray Gold Symphonies, FFS. I'm afraid so. It is one of those. And Mudcrab is saying, and Pantheons, sigh. Yeah, he more or less showed you the whole thing of what's going to happen in that end thing, wasn't it? Just ridiculous.
Just waiting for the Guardian of Chaos to turn up, aren't we?
Oh, that's Ark in Space bought Doctor Who magazine since 2001 until 2019. Yep. And so RTD, after all these years in TV production, has no idea about effects, says Duncan Evans. Lots of you commenting about that.
About a lot of things, really, has he?
St. Rosie Mead says, can't wait, and I won't wait. Yeah. Can't wait, won't wait. And what's this from Noodle Arms? It sounds like it's been edited and edited again. A man who has already been told what we know. Plymouth Who, nice to see you. RTD, the Titanic isn't sinking. We have just decided to expand the pool.
There's spin for you. There we are. Yeah.
That's brilliant. I love that one. I had to Carwin. Carwin Morris was saying, so the showrunner doesn't know what the FX teams are doing and he doesn't have an understanding of the business, is what I took from that. Domgo took this. I see RTD talking cowpats again. Yeah, Lee. Hiya, Lee Smith. He's saying bluff and bluster.
Yeah.
That's all it was, wasn't it?
He's trying to save face and make it look like it all was all planned.
It's all planned.
Yeah,
It's all planned.
Yeah.
But he did confirm in that poll what we've been saying as well. It was the episodes, not the years. Here's the money for so many episodes. And what they did, wrongly in my point of view, is they did 2 8-episode series, two Christmas specials, and a 5-episode spin-off series, where they should have concentrated on, yes, you had to have the Christmas things because the BBC would order that, but you should have done 2 long series and forget the blooming.
To be fair though, I have to say that means there's 5 more episodes of Shooty. Is that a good option or not? I'm not sure.
I think had they got it right, I think the 5 more episodes of a decent actor with decent scripts would have benefited. Because as I've said, if you don't have a main show that nobody's watching, what's the point in doing bloody spin-offs?
Exactly.
What is the point? Because even we're at that point now. Now we know the Sea Devils aren't even going to be the Sea Devils. We're at that point now where we're going, oh, really?
Yeah.
Aren't we? Come on. Are we interested in it? No. And
I think this could be worse than Class, the way it's looking, I have to say.
See, I forget about that all the time until one of you mentioned it, because I watched the first 2 episodes, was automatically bored, never watched it again. Mark, but then again, it wasn't for me.
The only good thing about Class was Capaldi was in the first episode. Apart from
that's why I watched this. The highlights. Mark A. Wright, RTD acknowledging that the TARDIS is sitting around doing naff all. He was indeed in that. And Doc Martin, it's verbal diarrhea. It's so fantastic, says Dalek, that he never once mentions the main character. That was a good point, actually.
And also, we've seen this week, haven't we, that Bad Wolf have been hawking around their vacant studio space.
Well, they have. We reported that last week on Sunday and Monday, and they've been doing that, and they have. We've heard here on Whose Views from friends that we have in the industry that they have sent out publicity to various people saying, if you need studio space, we've got plenty. Come and use our studio space.
I think only way they can recoup their costs now is to turn Bad Wolf Studios into a hotel. I think it's probably the best option.
Well, also we know that all alleged from what we've been doing that they're not in a necessarily strong position, and neither is the industry really here in Britain again. So it's very delicate time now. Mudcrab, Joy to the World started filming 14 months before the screening. That is the lead time needed. Church on Ruby Road took 11 months, but they filmed that alongside the mini Dr. Donna season. Absolutely. They did do back in the day when it was all done by the BBC and they were able to churn things out properly. They did do, I think, the Christmas Invasion in the summer.
Yeah.
And they churned that out very quickly. But that was, I think, part of what was becoming series 3. I can't remember the production dates now, but if you're going to do something, it has to be quick. It has to be epic. A quick turnaround.
That may be quicker because they're quite surprised to get it. I think on the back of series 1. I think. Yeah.
Well, that was the Runaway Bride. So that was the second one, wasn't it? That was the Christmas special. So yeah, they would have put that in, but also because they had the staff on hand. This time, their staff, everybody's independent now, so off they go and get other gigs. You
can't blame them.
No.
Yeah, and you can't just pick up a phone and say, "Can you come in on Monday?" You have to book these people in advance because they are professional people who need to pay rents, mortgages, and eat. They have families as well, so they've got to go. So they'll go where the work is. And I know from my experience, they travel all over the country, sometimes into Europe as well for these things. Thank you for Chris Carlos. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for that for you there. Oh, look at everybody in the chat here. Here's John Mason. Hey, sorry I'm late to the chat. I've been watching on TV. Oh, we're on telly now. Isn't that exciting? Hopefully we'll get more viewers than bloody Russell T Davies gets. Bill Lowry is saying to us, the crew are looking for other jobs. It's a bit of a giveaway, that is.
Yeah.
Well, it certainly means that, in my estimation, I can't speak for the others, but in my estimation, it doesn't mean that any Doctor Who, even if a third series is greenlit this year, is going to be done this year.
Yeah.
Noodle Arms is saying the wilderness years are coming and rejoice at last. This rubbish is over and back to proper Who. Don't say that yet. It's not quite. Let's wait until we get an official world. Isn't it sad that we all really, really want this thing to end?
I'd be very, very surprised though if the BBC get another chance right away though, because they've tried it twice, haven't they, with Jodie and then with Shooty, and it's not worked. So they're not going to do it again, are they?
Surely they should now realise it's not worth it.
Yeah.
I wonder if they wish that they just ignored Bad Wolf and just canned it.
Yeah.
Maybe they did. Maybe hindsight's a lovely thing, Ian. Badger 70, nice to see you. Thank you for your super chat. Welcome to Who's Views. Not seen you on the channel before, but it's lovely to see you. I've missed the beginning of this one, but do catch most of your streams. Genuinely the only entertaining thing connected with Doctor Who around these days. That is very nice of you to say. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
And we do appreciate that. Thank you very much. And we do try. We do try. Derek Hart is saying to us here as well, who is buying Doctor Who magazine? It keeps going up. Not sure current issue, but January was $6.99, I think. It's $7.99. You're right there, Derek. It's $7.99. I checked on the cover as I put it back.
Is that more than Radio Times now? I think probably.
Long way from 30p for the first monthly, isn't it? Really?
Oh God, yeah.
Remember those? And even that was a bit of a. I remember my dad saying, "Now steady on, son."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Because that was quite.
But in those days, with 30 pence, you could pay the mortgage and have money for chips afterwards as well. That's how good it was.
I know.
Yeah.
In what days?
In those days, yeah.
You
were lucky. You were lucky.
Back in 2 days. Yeah. We've got that from Richard saying the Guardian of Chaos. That's RTD. It wouldn't surprise. We are expecting it though, Paul and Ian, aren't we? Because we talked about it last year. We're expecting the Guardian of Chaos. Or as we know him, the Black Guardian, which of course these PC types, these woke types, these far left types can't say because it might offend somebody. Get a bloody grip. It's the Black Guardian. We are expecting him to turn up in the next series because we just are. There's been some merchandise based around.
An AI rendition of Valentine Dial, I doubt probably, but there we are.
Oh, wouldn't that be awful?
Wouldn't it? Yeah. Like Peter Cushing in the Star Wars movies,
No. Rob Alexander, usual BS, hyperbole from RT, talk about filler, reminds me of Little Britain. Barbara Cartland sketch, how many it was how many pages? I love that. Blah, blah, blah. Rewrite the last book. How many pages, darling? Champagne. Oh, that was Bubbles. You're right. Jason Parker's with us. Only the classic series Blu-rays sell. Only the classic figures sell. The free scraps of new Who merchandise is being reduced. It's utterly embarrassing. RTD is not so much as it has been, more and never was. It's very interesting you say that because the more you look at what he's doing, the more I do that, the more I see it's actually the same thing, just formulated differently. So you've got the whole thing about the soap opera elements. You've got that whole soap opera element, and even Doctor Who now is soap opera element.
And not just that, it's full of repetition now as well. You can just see where he stole from himself now as well, which is quite sad.
He's repeating himself a lot.
Yeah,
it really is. As we said, last week we've looked at the teaser for the next forthcoming show series. It really does look like Smith and Jones, or what was it called? Smith and Jones.
Smith and Jones, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Great to see so many of you here. Inspector number 23 is with us. Welcome to Who's Views. Sainsbury's, Morrison, Asda stocked the magazine, but not many of late. Thank you very much. So Sainsbury's, Morrison's, and Asda are still stocking Doctor Who magazine, but not that many.
So get them while you can.
It's probably around about 5 then, Inspector?
Yeah.
Because the Tesco near me is an extra. It's massive.
Yeah.
And it picks 5 of them. And when I go to check, as I say, usually if I check before it's supposed to go off the shelves, it could get down to 3. Could do. It'd be interesting.
If they're very lucky. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Absolutely.
Do they get sent back and get pulped, or do they go back to Panini? What happens if they don't get sold?
No, they get pulped.
All right. Okay.
Or recycled these days, as I think they say. Yeah. Great to see you all in the chat, everybody. Thank you so much. There's a little bit of talk there as well about who's playing the Black Guardian. It's just speculation from us. I need to scotch that right now because I know what we're all like. It's just speculation from us that the Black Guardian could be returning as a pantheon, but called the Guardian of Chaos. Although somebody did get back to me after we thought about that, saying that apparently the Russell T Davies put a line into one of the I can't remember who was, put a line into one of these Gatwa episodes that the Guardians were destroyed by the Pantheon. So we might be wrong.
Yeah, yeah. The toy maker not say something about that or something daft like that? I don't know, but
Oh, well done. You're paying attention. I was asleep by then.
and I vaguely remember something like that. But he makes it up as he goes along, so it's probably not even true. But,
No. And
he
then they
forgot he
forget,
said
don't
it.
they?
He forgot he said it in the giggle and put it in another episode. Yeah,
They totally forget as well, don't
Yeah.
they, what they've already done just for the sake of stuff.
Oh,
They
yeah.
haven't even got their own internal continuity of their own era. Never mind
Yeah.
stuff from the past that you're not supposed to know about, as Ian's always telling us here as well. SG, the soap opera elements, was one of those things that turned me off New Who in the zeros. I know what you mean. I know what you mean. And Mark Milford, it's lovely to see you. Bad Wolf is 51% owned by Sony. They don't need all the high salaries, low cash holdings, and debt to run an empty building. Sometimes empty buildings are worth a bloody fortune, aren't they? As we know in Britain these days on our high streets. Okay, I'll get off my soapbox on that particular one already. Domgo, I'm wondering if the intimacy coach was brought in for the Juno Dawson episode. The intimacy coach, yes. Interesting you should mention that because I think we are going to be returning to that particular story that we talked about before Christmas about the intimacy coach that was in Bad Wolf for these episodes. That's not all Doctor Who magazine gave us, of course, because we had all this thing, but it was picked up. Now, what I want you to bear in mind, everybody here, is now this was a week in which an awful lot of chat was going on about the writers of Doctor Who. But did you see many people talking about it apart from the likes of ourselves and other people on this platform? There wasn't much going on. And I think it was a big deflection from that story. I don't think people wanted us to talk about the Juno Dawson aspect, because look at this. Doctor Who magazine arrives, and then this comes along from Den of Geek. Doctor Who showrunner confirms 2025 Christmas special wasn't ordered with series 15. The clock is ticking on whether we'll get a Christmas Day Doctor Who episode this year. Okay, so they've gone with that story rather than Juno Dawson, homophobic and misogynistic fella, is writing for Doctor Who. Okay, well, let's have a look and see what they say. RTD signs off his letter from the showrunner in the latest edition of Doctor Who magazine with the words, "I am confident Doctor Who is forever and the future is bright." Excellent news, says Den Geek, except it's not actually news. For actual news of what's happening with Doctor Who after the next series finale airs, we've been told we have to wait. The word from on high is that a decision apparently won't be made on commissioning more Doctor Who until Gatwa's second run has begun to air this spring. That decision rests with the BBC, of course, but BBC finances being what they are, the involvement or not of international distributor Disney Plus is obviously a factor in what will shape the show would continue. What hasn't been clear until now is whether the show's next Christmas special, which be due to air on December the 25th, 2025, had been packaged in with the 2025 series commission. And now we know that it wasn't. In Doctor Who magazine, Davies specifies the contents of what he calls the First Order. Not a Star Wars reference, it simply means the First Order is 3 specials, 2 seasons of Doctor Who, and a 5-episode spin-off. 26 episodes in total. Do you remember when 26 episodes, fellas, was just one series for us?
Yeah.
26 half-hour episodes, and how fabulous were they? Anyway, let's get back to this. During the maths, that means the initial commission was for the 360th anniversary special, Starbeast, Wild Blue Yonder, and The Giggle. Then the 2023 Christmas special, The Church on Ruby Road. The 8-episode series 14 in 2024, Christmas special, Joy to the World. The 8-episode series 15, plus the 5-episode Sea Devil spin-off. Welcome, Den of Geek, to our world. We've been saying that for 2 years. Congratulations. Maybe you should watch us a little bit more for the facts and some British common sense. Here we go with this. A 2025 Christmas special wasn't part of the initial package, and so presumably its fate hangs in the same balance as the potential 3rd series with Gatwa in the TARDIS. If a decision isn't made until, say, April or May of this year, would that make it too late for a 2025 Christmas special to air? Now, this is where Den of Geek disagrees with us and says not necessarily. Although filming on the 2024 festive episode was wrapped by late 2023, that was an unusually long lead time. The 2015 Christmas special, Husbands of River Song, filmed in September and wrapped just 3 months before it aired. If a script has, as rumoured, already been written for 2025, then it's still a feasible turnaround. Acknowledging Davis's excitement for the new episodes, it's nonetheless hard not to read nostalgic melancholy into his Doctor Who magazine 613 report. He reminisces about the non-clip trailers they used to make in the eras of the 9th, 10th, 11th Doctors and ponders bringing them back. However, it goes on to say, yes, the studio's creak, dust in the air, an old coffee cup on its side where a Titan will soon stand on your TV. That still worries me. Plans sit waiting. The TARDIS, he writes, sits in shadow like a secret. So really, what's that about? I mean, it's just a deflection, really, from what I can tell.
It is. I still don't understand what they're waiting for. You know, if Disney have seen the episodes and they don't like them, then they won't recommission it. So why are they waiting until May to confirm anything? I don't understand.
I still think, and it's just speculative, Who viewers, I still think it's because they don't want to damage any sort of publicity. Because you imagine if they announce now.
Yeah.
Doctor
So it's like
Who
Eccleston leaving early at the end of season 1 sort of idea. Yeah, like that. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
if you announce to the fans, as I wish they would, to be honest, so they can all prepare themselves for a major meltdown for some of these idiot kids, and all these idiot left wingers or extreme far left wing people that are just clambering onto this because it says it's Doctor Who on the tin. We mustn't let it go. P.S. Note for you all: it's not Doctor Who. You know, if they said now that's coming off, can you imagine the outcry? And so when the show comes back, last series of Doctor Who. Oh, in these last episodes, nobody cares about the last episode. It doesn't look good from a publicity point of view when Disney has put in so much money as well. You know, it's my theory.
I think
you could be right. Yeah,
it's going to be damaging across the board, isn't it? Because, like you say, all that money that Disney put in, just for an absolute pile of dross to be churned out at the other end that nobody's really watching, that's quite embarrassing, and everybody would prefer to forget about it. That's not just an embarrassment for the BBC. What does that say about Bad Wolf? That they put everything into that and kept going on. They took all that money from Disney, allegedly, and spent all that money from Disney, allegedly, and got absolutely nothing out of it. That's got to be hugely embarrassing and hugely damaging on a business level. I mean, who'd want to do business with Bad Wolf if that's what they do with £100 million?
Yeah.
They're just prolonging the agony, though, aren't they? That's the thing.
Yeah. They just don't want to damage what they've got coming.
Yeah.
But it's going to be damaged enough anyway, isn't it?
It will be.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they haven't. I think this is why there's been deflection this week on the big story, which didn't go down well, as we saw with Juno Dawson playing victim on his Instagram or wherever that came from. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was another one here as well as Stephen. Where is it? Stephen L. says to us, I see Joe Martin being in another dimension. So Hartnell is the first, but Martin is the first of her dimension. That was
she's the first. That's what they're saying. She's the real first. That's what they're saying.
Well, this is it. And this is the story we're going to get to now, Who viewers, because this, I think, was the other deflection, because this, again, has come from Doctor Who magazine. I first saw about it on the morning from X, when asked whether her fugitive doctor fits into the season 6B theory, yawn, Joe Martin replied, "What the hell is that?" And everybody cheered. Apparently she was at some sort of convention. She comes before Hartnell, the actor added. I thought that was flaming obvious. Well, who is this woman?
Hope they booed that reference then after they cheered the first
well,
one.
You know what? I don't think they're going to, because these people are fickle. And obviously they're so invested in the Chibnall and RTD2 era. Everything to them, that's Doctor Who. Where I can tell you, no, it's not. You know, it's absolutely not. And it's nothing to do with any proper Doctor Who fan at all. But it's come from this in Doctor Who magazine. Now, apparently, this lady has done a series for Bog Fanish. Some of you may be aware of that.
Of course she has.
Well, big deal. I mean, they're grasping at straws there, I think, because apparently there was demand. Yes, 15 people wanted a series with her in it. They must have some sort of bad business manager
That's
over
the whole
there.
current series audience, then, isn't it?
Well, it's just scraping the barrel, isn't it? Really, to say, well, let's. I mean, I looked at some of their output and I just think laughable.
Well, they did a Lady Christina series. Remember her from Planet of the Dead? Who was wanting that? I'm sorry. No disrespect to the actor who played Lady Christina. She's very good, but who wanted that? Who demanded that? You know,
it was Michelle Ryan, wasn't it? I thought
probably, yes.
She went off to do the remake of The Bionic Woman. That wasn't very good either, but she was good.
No,
I bet they wouldn't do that again, because just look who co-wrote that episode. Of course, it was the legend, Mr. Gareth Roberts.
Yeah.
So they're not going to want to give him any money, are they? Because, of course, they've cancelled him, turned their backs on him, and ignored him. The hypocrisy of these people ranks, doesn't it? But this has come from Doctor Who magazine, with the reveal of the fugitive Doctor was a surprise to everyone. All 4 of you that were watching. Now she's back in her own series. On audio, doesn't count. And it does go into this. It says that bit there, which actually, on the right-hand side, I think a lot of fans have really hung up on that. And this is when to ask the question from this interviewer, where does this Doctor fit? Yeah, quite a few want to know, where in the canon do I come? They'll come and ask me on train journeys. Well, they're obviously pretty sad. I'm like, listen, you'll have to ask Mr. Chibnall, because I didn't write this. All I know is that when I took the job and they were trying to explain my Doctor to me, I was told how it was going to work, that I was the first Doctor. So I was like, okay. Of course you're not. Hashtag Hartnell first. William Hartnell's the first Doctor. And quite frankly, anything from Jodie Whittaker onwards doesn't count in my book. What do you two reckon about this?
Well, what I don't understand was, both you and I had the pleasure or the displeasure of watching this era. And
more for you two.
I know. We've got a lobotomy scar at the front of our heads. When we saw this, Ian, remember this, the fugitive Doctor had a police box TARDIS. Yep. If she was the first Doctor, why did she have a police box TARDIS?
Yeah, because she wasn't hanging around. She was in it was buried in the garden of a lighthouse somewhere, wasn't it?
Yeah.
But why would it be a police box?
Buried in the garden.
Yeah,
it was buried in the garden. Yeah, well, it's a big garden. It wasn't like a small terraced house. It was a big garden. But
the police box.
Was it buried in the garden? It doesn't matter. I don't care.
The police box was changed. The Chameleon Circuit changed it into a police box to blend into 1963 for an Unearthly Child, and broke, because he said when they went back to 100,000 BC
in
or
episode
whenever
2,
he said, "Oh, it's still a police box. Why has that happened? Oh dear, how very frustrating," or whatever. That's
a fantastic moment as well. Fantastic moment.
Absolutely, and he's lighting up his pipe as well, because the Doctor smoked then. My God, let's lynch him now. But if you're talking about she was the first one, she was the first incarnation of the person who is the Doctor? Because in that case, she never made it out of childhood and she fell off a cliff, didn't she?
Well, even I'm confused now.
The person that is supposedly the Doctor, that was found at that mysterious dimensional gate, was a black female child, and she regenerated for the first time after falling down a cliff, being pushed by a white boy, and died and regenerated. So we've always seen the first Doctor being Hartnell, and then his first regeneration gave the second Doctor Troughton. So if this child regenerated, then into who? Because if Jo Martin's the first one, then that means she's this black child, but this black child died by being pushed off her. It's all bollocks,
so effectively then Jo Martin's a timeless child, is what she's saying then, effectively. She was the kid that was picked up by the woman who forced the people to regenerate, which is interesting in itself.
Never made it out.
But GT's nodding off now. Change the subject.
I am. It's just drawing. I mean, it makes no sense
when it was on.
It just makes absolutely no sense at all. It was, in my eyes, it was Chris Chibnall looking at people like myself criticizing the gender change, the unnecessary gender change, by saying it can't happen because it's been established in 26 years of superior time travel television that the Doctor was a boy. It was a male of his species. So he comes along and rewrites that and adds a bit to it to say, Yabu, I've got it wrong. You now have to follow this. Well, we don't. And it's just absolute nonsense. And neither Whittaker, Martin or Gatwa are the Doctor. It's you can cross it off. It's just ridiculous. Rose Kirby is joining us. Hello, Rose. Happy Sunday to all. No one's stuck in Groundhog Day. Please, can you tell me what the discussion is? Unable to read normal print anymore. Yes, Rose, absolutely delighted to. Hope you are well, my lovely. We're currently talking about the new Doctor Who magazine that hit the shelves here in the UK on Thursday. We've been talking about Russell T Davies's production note thing, or his diary, or whatever you call it, which basically states that Doctor Who is currently out of production. The studios at Bad Wolf are in darkness, in the dark we used to call it, because it's out of production. There are no plans at the moment to start up production again. We've just been discussing about the fact that there is no Christmas 2025 schedule for filming, and the possibility that all the staff that have worked on the 2 series of Doctor Who, the specials and also the Sea Devil thing, which is on the way this year, are now actually all looking for work or employed elsewhere, and good luck to all of them. So that's you up to date, Rose. We're now also in Doctor Who magazine talking about Jo Martin, who has gone onto stage and into Doctor Who magazine to say that she was told she was going to be playing the first Doctor, which, as Doctor Who fans, we all know is sacrilege. It doesn't happen. She's not the first. And in my eyes, of course, doesn't count at all. Rose, I'm also saying as well that these are all stories that have been pushed in the media, on the online media, as a deflection to the news that we got on Monday of the fact that Juno Dawson is writing, or has written, for the second season of Doctor Who. So you're up to date, because we're going to be coming to that very soon. So I hope you're well, Rose. It's lovely to see you. Thank you for joining us. What else have we got here as well? So that just doesn't strike me as newsworthy, this Jo Martin thing. And this is when I started to think, oh, isn't this interesting that people are talking about this now rather than what we were told on Monday? You know, the whole Juno Dawson thing. And then it was also interesting that something else came out, which is also, I think, a deflection from radiotimes.com. Doctor Who writer confirms Joy to the World character is a one-off despite fan theories. Fans have been calling for her return. Have they really? Did anybody notice? This, of course, are alleged fans and their alleged demands that Anita from Joy to the World, played by Steph de Wally, returns as a companion. There is no third series for her to return to yet, you utter bizarre weirdos.
I mean, no disrespect to her. She was a good enough character, but I don't think she deserved a series. I'm sorry. I mean, who's clambering for this? Big Finish, get on the phone to her.
Yeah.
But again, I just thought it was so shallow, this.
Yeah.
To deflect from the story, because radiotimes.com haven't talked about the fans, because they'll only talk about the things that they want to. So that one there, look at the tagline to that. Fans have been calling for her return. So to tie in with what you're saying earlier, we know they're watching shows like this. We know they're looking at the message boards, Facebook, X, wherever else, Instagram. And they're selecting stories to make up, in my eyes, allegedly. And this week must have been hard work for them, because the big news that Juno Dawson, homophobic, misogynistic person, was coming into Doctor Who to write a story, or has written that story. And then suddenly the negative press that came around from fans about this, because it was there. We did it ourselves on Monday. It was there. It's still there. And they must have been scrambling for something to talk about. Oh, thank God the new Doctor Who magazine's out. We can put that story about Jo Martin out. Oh, thank goodness we've had the Radio Times covers party. Stephen Moffat's there. Let's chat to him about that character. Do you see what I'm getting at?
Yeah.
And this is that one here. Look, they actually spoke to Stephen Moffat at the radiotimes.com covers party. Who cares? He confirmed she is a one-off character. She is like all great things in Doctor Who, and this is a fact you can take from me because I know my Doctor Who facts. All great things in Doctor Who are the result of a budget cut. Right. Okay. Not because there's no third series. That's a hell of a budget cut.
Yeah.
You know, but I mean, what a waste of time, Ian, talking about that. I mean, that is just pure deflection. It's not the big story. A Radio Times cover party, they do it every year. They all talk nonsense.
They're trying to bury bad news, aren't they? It's just like you say, deflection. They're using it.
It's like a government policy avoidance as well, isn't it? That kind of thing, allegedly. Yeah.
What do you think, Who Views? Lots of you in the chat tonight with us. Problem being saying, get it in the bin, love. Yeah. Hartnell first says Julianne Goodwin. Absolutely. Paul Schlafter saying to us, that really annoyed me when they said Martin was the first Doctor. It's a total insult to William Hartnell. It is.
It is indeed, yeah.
Insult to those people back in the 63 onwards putting it together. It's also an insult to Doctor Who fans. And I blame Stephen Moffat for all this nonsense, for that rubbish he did with Day of the Doctor. Oh, let's just shoehorn in one here that nobody's seen before, makes it look clever. I mean, it's opened the floodgates for all this absolute nonsense that's come after it. Doc Martin is saying Hartnell will always be number one. Paul Thomas Ashworth, you sent us a super chat and I didn't read it out. Well, I'm sorry, I didn't see that one. Was it another one of my little things? I'll have to go back and look at it later. But thank you so much for that one. I'm going to correct that for you now. I didn't see that. Did you guys? It didn't get flagged up. Sorry about that, mate. You know I don't mean it. But PTA is saying to us, I heard Shooty has filmed his regeneration scenes. I think that's another rumour, to be honest, mate, because I don't think they have, because I don't think they want him to film a regeneration scene. And if you're going to film a regeneration scene, Why? Because it ain't coming back, I think. I personally think, mate, that when this finishes now, that's it, because there's just no British audience to justify it carrying on. I know some people don't like me saying that, but
if they were bringing it back, they would have done their best to keep Gatwa as well, so they wouldn't have been planning on a regeneration scene anyway. And as he's out of contract, he isn't going to come back to film anything.
It'd be interesting to see if, like RTD says in Doctor Who magazine, that the studios will flare into life, blah, 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 drama, this month, if they do some trailers or something like that. It'd be interesting to see if Ncuti comes back, because they will have to pay him extra.
Yeah.
Because he's out of contract. It'll have to be a new contract. We'll see. So if he comes back in, we can discuss it back then. If he doesn't, we can also discuss that. You can't win at the moment, people in Doctor Who. You really, really can't. Richard is saying these people, the Woke Brigade, have culturally appropriated Doctor Who, and now they have killed it big time. Sean Cryer, it is scraping the barrel, but they can't even get that right. Joe Chapman, Ncuti looks up as he regenerates, tears streaming down his face. Cheese, toasty, and a pumpkin latte, he says, before bursting into light. True. Can you imagine it, though? Derek Hart saying, if going to do a special for Christmas, I think it would have been announced. It would have been announced by now. It would have done. If anything was going ahead now, they would have announced it, because they will be so desperate to prove the likes of us wrong.
Yeah.
Yes, we're going.
Davies would be going on about writing it, wouldn't he? And dropping, and this word and that word appears in it and things like that. He always does that, and he can't resist it. I've scrolled back a bit, and normally I would watch the super chats as well, but my internet connection is really crappy at the minute. So Paul Thomas Ashworth, very sorry about that one. I've heard Bad Wolf has dismantled the TARDIS set and have advertised the studio space, and he gave us a super chat of £5, which was really,
thank you very much for that. That rumor is there. That rumor is out there. However, T. Davis is implying the TARDIS set is still there. They have the space to keep it there. I mean, it's massive, the Bad Wolf Studios. They have the space to keep it up there for as long as they want to now. Now, if they're going back into production, like he says, this February for some small stuff, we'll soon know, because if it's there, they'll be using the TARDIS set, because it's the only Doctor Who set they've got. Yeah. And I think it would be likely that that would be in their plan. I mean, that thing costs a fortune. It's not going to be dismantled that easily.
I hope they're not going to redo the Eccleston, but Shooter's going to say, "You want to come with me?" And we'll say no. That's it.
Can you? But who's going to care, really? It'd be interesting to see what they come up with. Just Jordan saying, "Oh well, I just asked my dad who the first Doctor was, and he said Hartnell. He has spoken, and that's final." He said she had ideas of grandeur.
I'm with your dad, definitely on that one. Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
What's this? Yes, I agree with this one from Dr. Once. I mean, Fig Binish, Dr. Once has been making that since they got the new series. They bent the knee, didn't they? They bent the knee, and then they got too greedy with getting too much out in a short piece of time, basically. You know, I think it got too much. $13.99 or $14.99 per CD per month. Every single month, and then they got 2, and then 3, and then 4. If you've managed to collect them all out there, congratulations. When
we originally did it, it was a novelty in the late 90s and the 2000s. They had like 1 or 2 every couple of months, were great, you know? And then they swamped the market, and there's so much stuff out there, it's become overwhelming. And they can't keep the quality up, because some of the quality is appalling, allegedly.
Absolutely. David B, nice to see you. Whittaker era is Shakespeare-esque compared to RTD Mark II. That's what Paul's been saying, actually. He said he'd rather watch anything from Chibnall than anything that we're getting now from RTD, who's supposed to be allegedly the better writer of the two of them. It's all agenda, isn't it? It's all activism. That's all Doctor Who now. It's a vehicle for far left activism. That's all it is.
Yeah.
JC, I just pray when it changes to another production company or team that they explain away the Timeless Child as being a deception by the master. It's easy to erase it all. The easiest thing to do there, poor Rose, to erase it, is just not acknowledge it and reboot the bloody thing. Yeah, because nobody was watching it anyway, including fans. There's absolutely no reason why people should carry on with it at all. Badger 70. Bog Vanisher, an absolute disgrace. Kindness and tolerance is no doubt their mantra, but try telling that to Barrowman or Dreyfus. Hypocrites. Like the rest of them. I have to agree with that. I totally agree with that. And we've mentioned that before on the show, haven't we, guys, about the contrasting, or what's the word I'm looking for? Approaches.
Yeah, contradictory. Yeah, be nice if it suits you. Yeah.
The
be nice lot are often the nastiest bunch out there, to be quite honest, and especially the way they treated people like Mr. Dreyfus. I mean, I've long given up on Big Finish, so I didn't hear his. It was the Master, wasn't it?
Yes,
he was the Master. Yeah,
he was very good actually. The Master.
I've heard very good things. I mean, largely from you, Paul, but I can well believe it. Exceptional actor, always has been. But the fact that he won't bend the knee, therefore he gets dropped and they try to blacklist him, is it's another sign of they're just a cancer on society. It's awful the way they try and destroy people while saying be nice.
While smiling.
Yeah. Where have we seen that going before?
Yeah.
Smiling assassins, they used to call things.
Exactly.
People.
Yeah.
I'd like to actually on this particular topic, seeing as it's been mentioned, I'd like to say hello to the Thing King. Nice to see you. Who actually said to me this week. So let me get this straight: John Barrowman cancelled, Noel Clarke cancelled, Sophia Myles cancelled, James Dreyfus cancelled, Juno Dawson celebrated by the fans for writing for Doctor Who, even though he is homophobic, misogynistic, and show alleged tendencies. See, the double standards again at play. But thank you to the Thinking for that one this week as well. Andrew Roberts, it will never happen, but I'd love a new showrunner to come in and retcon everything from Whittaker onwards by having Capaldi regenerate into a 13th male Doctor. As I say, it's dead easy. All they have to do, Andrew, is just ignore everything and start again and get rid of this bloody numbering thing. I know that's going to be difficult for some of the new fans that have come in that live by Doctor 4, Doctor 6, Doctor 13, whatever. It was just the Doctor for us. And it didn't matter what number he was. Let's get back to that, shall we? It doesn't matter where he turns up. It doesn't matter what body, what number of body he is. Because now it's all stupid. They've gone far too far with it all. There's what, 16, 17, 18 of them? It's bloody ridiculous. Hello to Aaron Sutherland. How are they new writers when season 2 is done and dusted? Why reveal now and not 3 years ago? Well, because it's part of their drive, isn't it? I mean, I still think, Aaron, they thought this thing was going to be huge and massive and take them back to the success of 2005 with all the fans kissing their asses and thinking it was wonderful and that Gatwood was the best thing ever and the stories were the best thing ever. But they're not. They're the worst things ever, and his performance is terrible. So it's gone the other way with Doctor Who fans. More of us have left than are coming into it. And it's part of their plan. If you look at it, they're repeating the plans they've had from 2005 onwards. Trickle the information out as publicity for your next piece of work. And nobody really cares now, honestly.
I think RTD does it in a way, because, absolutely right. 2-3 years ago, they knew who these writers were going to be. So he sets up a narrative where about a year ago, he says, we've been told we didn't do enough diverse writers, knowing they'd already been commissioned, written it, filmed it, done it. So he can then say, I'm really on it. So a few months later, he can drop the news that they've now written for the series, and he looks like the hero because he's listened to everybody else. And it's just absolute fabricated crap. It's just generating a storyline or a narrative, and it's as fake as everything else, allegedly.
It's sad that we've got to this point, isn't it, everybody, that we're just so over it, really, and we can see how pathetic it really is, you know. Thank you for all your chats, everybody. I really appreciate it. Keep them coming. It's very busy in there. Thank you to Kirsty, as I say, and to Garbage and to Problem Being for making sure you're all in there. PTA, Paul Thomas Ashworth, is saying to us, what the heck has happened to the 10th Doctor, and where is he to help out when the universe almost ended? The 2 Doctors are a complete narrative mess. Well, we pointed that out, didn't we? About, the fact that he spent the 15th, or the Gatwood Doctor, whatever it is, the current Doctor, allegedly, spent a whole year working in a hotel when he could have popped up the road and borrowed the TARDIS from his previous self. Why didn't they do that? Oh, see the problems they create for each other. Doing all this nonsense. I mean, it's just stupid, isn't it?
Tennant
Rose,
was too busy learning about pronouns anyway.
yeah. Well, yeah. I wonder how long that's going to continue now, because people are getting ridden left, right, and centre. I've noticed that even some British companies, by the way, are also telling staff, please remove your pronouns. Let's hope that continues. Rose Kirby saying to us, am I right? Am I right in thinking that isn't it 3 years in May that the contract ends? It wasn't by contract. The BBC, I think, had a contract with Bad Wolf, but the BBC, if it's similar to the Fox deal, can pull that anytime they want. I don't know the ins and outs because they haven't published it, but the BBC would still hold all the strings. I can guarantee
There'll be a
you.
get-out clause somewhere for them and shooting and all that kind of stuff, won't there? So
Exactly, because that's what they did last time round, and also they did that with the thing that plagued us through the wilderness years, Rose, was this bloody movie that never got made in all its form. But the BBC held. Remember, guys, the BBC held all of it, and eventually, remember, it was Lorraine Heckesy that said, "Enough of this nonsense. You're not doing anything with it. Give me the rights back." And they did.
Doctor, the Last of the Time Lords, I believe it was called. Yeah, that was it.
Oh, there were loads. There were absolutely loads of them, and they were all
Green Light wasn't the company, wasn't it? Green Light.
Yeah,
nice, yeah. It was
written by
awful.
Johnny Byrne. Yeah.
Oh, bless him. God love him. I know it was difficult for him because he said that to us one day at a convention when we made, and he said he was sick of it by the time it all got pulled because he had to go this way and this way and this way and this way and listen to money and listen to money. Anyway, we'll talk about that on another show. So there you go. Right, but he has confirmed, RTD in Doctor Who magazine has confirmed it wasn't done by years now from the Disney order. It was done by episode. They paid for 26 episodes, which once the Sea Devil thing is done, is completed. That's it. There we go. Thank you for your super chat, Hugh Janus, my mate Hugh Janus. Remember when incarnations were a finite amount, not to be wasted for when you ran out, and that was your lot. A one-season Doctor seems like a waste to me. It wasn't even a season, was it though, Hugh? It was like 3 episodes, wasn't it? For Tennant.
Well, that's the thing. It's funny. I love Patrick Troughton. I wish he never said do 3 years and out. Everyone assumes now you can't do longer than 3 years, which is really annoying.
Sorry, Paul, to interrupt, but it was different days. He was working practically every day of the week for a year. This guy can't even get through 6 months.
But I mean, McCoy could have done a 4th season. So could Davison or Colin Baker. You know, if they had the chance.
Davison, Davison particularly. I think the whole show could have gone in a different direction then, because it did. You know, people can deny it if they want, but it did take a dive with Colin Baker. It went in a direction that I think was a mistake, and it wasn't as popular. Whereas I think Davison at that point was still riding a bit of a tide of popularity.
He was.
And if he'd done that extra season, it could have just seen it in a slightly different way, which may have seen it into the 90s. But I mean, you know, it was what it was, which was a shame.
Do you know what? It is, and you know, I'll defend Mr. Davison here as well, because he was a year in advance. So when John came to him and said, "Are you going to stay for a 4th season?" he was doing a 2nd, and he wasn't very happy with the 2nd season, was he?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So that's how advanced you young people out there who are watching won't understand. It was that advanced in the planning back in the BBC's days.
McCoy said similar as well. He had a similar issue as well. He was offered a 4th, but he couldn't. He had to commit to the 2nd and 3rd first to get a 4th and stuff like that. Yeah.
Well, he committed to a 4th, and so did Sophie for some of it, and then they pulled it on him. So you know, I would have been quite peeved about that. But when it came to Peter Davison, I quite like season 20. You all know that. I really enjoy season 20. It was brilliant. But he wasn't. He was frustrated as an actor. There were other things going on. He was frustrated. So of course he said no. I actually think, no disrespect to anybody ever, but can you imagine if he'd been the Doctor when the series was put on hiatus?
Yeah.
It might have affected his career. And he's had a fabulous. Not that I'm saying Colin hasn't. I'm not saying that. But Peter went immediately into something else.
Oh yeah.
You know,
he would never done a Very Peculiar Practice, I think, if he'd carried on, which is a shame because that's a great series.
Yeah.
So I mean, there was one point where he was doing 2 or 3 series at the same time, wasn't he? Because he had Sink or Swim.
It was the Golden Boy.
Really enjoyed.
He was,
Sink and Swim was brilliant. I remember laughing as a 12-year-old.
Yeah,
at that.
really funny. Yeah.
He was the Golden Boy of BBC One for a couple of years because he had All Creatures, Doctor Who, Sink or Swim. Then he went into a Peculiar Practice. He did something else for them, I seem to remember as well, but it's gone from the memory. He was the Golden Boy.
Campion was another one, remember?
Campion. Of course.
Yeah. Guest starred in A Miss Marple with Joan Hickson. Very good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
PTA, Paul Thomas Ashworth, thank you for your next. I really appreciate it, mate. Just downloaded Sharda on Google Play Books by Gareth Roberts. Stuff the cancel culture. Proper Doctor Who. Yes, Gareth, as we know, had cancelled in a sense by them. They won't, not that he's bothered. You can go and tell he's not bothered, but if you haven't seen it already, you can go and see our Headlines special edition where Gareth is here on Headlines talking to me about his latest book, which is called Gay Shame, which is all about the TQ cult and how it's homophobic and misogynistic. It's a great read. It's a great book. It's now available in paperback, but it's a great interview, and it was great to welcome him on the show and get a bit of common sense coming from somebody in the industry for once. So go and watch that. It's great. But Sharda is a great read as well. I've got that. Yeah. There it is down there. I've got that one. It's a great read, right? And he was so good at capturing the Fourth Doctor and Romana and K9 in that relationship. Remember the well-mannered war and everything like that. So yeah. PTA, stuff the cancel culture, because it's coming for them now, isn't it? It's really coming for them too. And they don't like it, do they? If we see the breakdowns this week. Komodo is saying Davison's last season was his best. He matured. Yeah. Perhaps if he got scripts like The Caves of Androzani, it would have been a completely different story because he loved that one.
And directed like Graham Harper as well.
Yeah. What we got here, Dr. One saying the issue with why Doctor Who went down in the 80s because of lack of change of creative team. For 20 years of Doctor Who, you had 21 producers, script editor, and suddenly 6 years with one script editor change. Yeah, it's true, but let's compare that to where we are in 2025, eh?
Yeah. It's funny, even though G&T ran from season 18 to 26, it feels like 3 different eras when you had Eric Saywood, Bidmead, and Cartmel. It feels like different people running it. It really does.
Yeah.
But you're right. Yeah. You're right, JT. We look at it now. We've had another 20 years and basically 3 producers, one who's doing it for the second time.
Yeah.
So we've got Joe Chapman says Gareth, the gay man, doesn't self-insert or put politics in because he's an actual talented professional writer. Funny that. Yeah, it was either Paul or Ian, or maybe in both of you, that put it into my head, what would he do with Doctor Who? Not that he would touch it now with a barge, but what would he do as the producer rather than a showrunner of Doctor Who? I think you get proper science fiction. It might be a way out there, like his New Adventures books occasionally, but he knows the medium, he knows what he's doing.
I have to say, I loved his New Who episodes. They were superb. Really good.
They were fantastic.
Very jolly, weren't they? Yeah.
But it's like we've said numerous times, isn't it? The best episodes of New Who have never been written by Russell T Davies.
Yeah,
as proven by TV Zone a couple of weeks ago when we looked at that. Remember, in their poll. Hello, Shane. Shane Spangler's with us. Hello, all. Are you gentlemen planning to do a live chat with the rest of John Pertwee's first season? If you mean reviews, Shane, absolutely, but not yet. We will get round to them, absolutely. But everything planned, everything in moderation. You're going to have to stay with us as we go through all this because we've got lots planned for you, not just immediately, but for this year. So
we've only got two more to review from season 7, haven't we? So
yes, so therefore we'll try and span that out for as much as possible. But no, we will do. We will be
just for Ian's benefit.
Yeah, just for Ian's benefit. Julianne, how do they justify dropping Gareth Roberts yet hiring Juno Dawson? More BBC underhand bias. Well, actually, I think it, not like me to defend the BBC, but I think it's more RTD bias than BBC. But certainly the BBC have approved and gone through with it, as has Bad Wolf. And that takes us on to the big story, of course. Yes, there was enough deflection going on when we had, Stephen Moffat at the Radio Times, well, who cares? Not worth talking about, get it out the room. We had this thing about Mrs. Flood is going to be confirmed in the next series. Who cares? Nobody's watching, get it out the room. We had the thing that we talked about, Joe Martin says she's the first Doctor. No, she's not. Who cares? Nobody's watching, get it out the room. The big story this week was why we came back on Monday night was this one. This, of course, was the announcement from BBC Studios, Bad Wolf and RTD himself, that the new writers for season 2 are Juno Dawson, Inua Allams, Sharma Angel Wolfall, and Pete McTighe, however you want to pronounce that. Well, yeah, so the DEI box was really ticked there. Everybody really, really ticked there. But RTD actually talked about this in Doctor Who magazine that hit the shelves on Thursday. What did he say about them, everybody? Can you imagine, guys?
I can imagine, yes.
It's a good thing, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Let's find out together.
Bestest ever, perhaps. Yes.
Here we go. It has been revealed that, in addition to showrunner Russell T Davies, 4 other writers have worked on scripts for the forthcoming season. Gat was second as the alleged Doctor. It's an honour and a relief to announce these names at last, RTD tells Doctor Who magazine. It's been a long time coming. I just went back through my emails to discover that I first asked Juno Dawson about this in February 2022. We've had years of fun, and now we get to share the surprises with everyone, or at least the million that are going to tune in. Working with this bunch has been a great delight. The joy of collaborating with other writers is that I get to learn a lot from each and every one of them. I already have the privilege of working with Stephen Moffat, a titan of the industry, and, he'd hate me to say, one of the kindest and wisest men you could ever spend time with. And now, to add to the roster, we have these new names, some new to television, some new to Doctor Who, and some new to television too. How well's that gone in Doctor Who's past?
Yeah.
What could possibly go wrong?
No offense to Phil, but Glenn McCoy.
I mean, the only one I can think of that has worked in the past is Andrew Smith, and he got a hell of a lot of help from a certain Mr. Bidmead.
Yeah.
Anyway. Oh, here we go then, everybody. Stand by your beds. This is what he says about his new writers for this series coming up. We're going to start with this one. Sharma Angel Woolful. It's Bad Wolf's job to reach out for new talent by asking agents, theatres and TV shows who they're buzzing about. And that's how we first found Sharma. It turns out we'd met about 20 years ago when she was a student at the Contact Theatre in Manchester. And during the development process on Doctor Who, Sharma was also in the writer's room for a show run by Kayleigh Llewellyn, BAFTA-winning writer of In My Skin, who lives only 2 streets away from me in Swansea. So it felt like we had a proper little writing community at work. That's it.
Right.
That's nice.
Yeah.
What's In My Skin? Anybody ever heard of that? What's that all about?
Yeah. What do you think about that, Whoview? That's all he has to say about her. That's it. Tony Graydon.
A bit of anticlimax there, isn't it?
Well, I must admit.
Hang on.
Yeah.
I think.
I was surprised.
Sorry, I think Garbage just made a very good point there, actually. Can you show up his comment again, JT?
Which one was this?
That the RTD's write-up about this first writer. There.
That one?
Yeah, just can we see the graphic of RTD's
Hold on.
RTD's comment from the magazine?
Yeah, it turns out we met about 20 years ago when she was a student at the Contact Theatre. So, yeah, so how old? Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I picked up on that, Garbage. Well done. How old is she? She looks about 20. Now, thank you for that. There is some concern I have over this, and I'm going to be very, 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 very careful about this and point out, allegedly. Now, you guys had met, I think it was Paul, and definitely some of you in the chat had mentioned something that she'd written before, which I'd never heard of. And then we were talking about that, and somebody came back on one of our headline shows and said it was all about Black supremacy, I believe.
Was it Noughts and Crosses or something? Was that the
That's
thing?
the one.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah,
Yes,
right.
that was this.
Yeah.
Which I think was for Netflix. So that doesn't sound like a particular good start for Doctor Who, but there has been some feedback this week. I don't know if any of you have seen it in the chat, but allegedly, of course, she is allegedly a far left pronoun using. Yeah, and has also.
What can I say? Russell said in the article, we're ready to let you see the surprises. There's no surprises in this at all, is there?
No, no, there is
whatsoever. We know what it's going to be like. We said this on Monday. We know what the episode's going to be about, and this already suggests what it's going to be about, doesn't it? You know?
Yeah. So there's an awful lot of alleged accusation, alleged rumor going out there about this particular young lady now, that her politics are far left, that she has been involved with certain other things. I don't know what I can and I can't say, but the whole nonsense going on the streets that have been going on, like she's endorsing that, which would mean to me she's anti something. Do you know what I'm getting at here? Without me having to say it.
Yeah.
You know, we're all adults here, but that wouldn't surprise me. Because I mean, she's in Manchester for one thing, but you know, it's. I mean, when I started reading some of these things where people were saying this and this and that, I thought, well, that would fit the activism that Doctor Who has now become. Not only does she tick a box for RTD and everybody at Bad Wolf and BBC Studios because she's ticking a box and she's done this, but yes, they don't care because they're all far left.
Yeah.
You know, a flagship show, says Schempmeister, shouldn't be a place to try out new writers with little experience. I think you can do it personally if you have more than 8 episodes. Now, allegedly, RTD has co-written these episodes with these newbies. So he's still getting a writer's credit for this. And it would be...
as we said before, giving people a chance to get a break is great. But if it's just DEI, you didn't earn it, then I think it's not fair, is it? You know? So
that's the point. And I don't care. Prove to me you're not a DEI hire. This must be a real problem now for people because of it. Surely some of them must be thinking, have I got the job because I'm good and I can do the job? Or do they get the job because they've got a ticker box? It's not very nice, is it? It really isn't. Really is horrible. I think that's terrible, these sorts of things. There's lots of you in the chat here. Have any of you heard or did any of you see these rumours this week? Because it really actually concerned me. Yes, garbage. Problem being knows what I'm saying about that as well. I was worried about it. I was worried about this, and I thought this is something else that's coming into Doctor Who. Somebody else that's been. I mean, God, don't we all get a headache with this? Why can't people just now just get on with the job? You know, or what? Politics is far too much in this show now, and it's all one-sided.
It's certainly not balanced. It's not balanced at all.
But I'm still recovering slightly from the Dot and Bubble episode, which was like only white people are racist. That's a really bizarre concept, isn't it? Allegedly.
Yeah.
That was the message they were trying to give.
It was, I think. Yeah. So.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Rose, are you okay? Rose Kirby, she's in the chat. She's listening to us. Are you okay? Hopefully you're okay and you're able to keep up with us and you're seeing everything okay. Okay, so let's get on to the next writer, which was Pete McTeague. It's only remarkable that it's taken so long to get Pete on board because he's written for Doctor Who before 2018's Kablam and with Chris Chibnall 2020's how to say that?
It's Praxeus.
Praxeus, thank you.
Yeah.
He lives in Cardiff, and we're mates going back at least 10 years or so. What's that got to do with this? In the past,
was he 9 at the time, or what was going on then?
Oh God, yeah. Why does he have to throw that in? What's it got to do with it?
I don't know.
Anyway, it says, in the past, Phil Thompson and I developed one of Pete's shows together, which we still hope to get made. And we'd stayed in touch ever since, bonded by our love of Doctor Who. So this was inevitable. And I actually can't remember which came first, me asking Pete to write episodes of The World Between or this Doctor Who episode. It feels like it all happened at once. So these guys are allegedly fans of Doctor Who, and here they are killing it.
Yeah.
Does Pete McTighe or McTee, does he tick a box? What does he fit into then?
No, he's
Well,
just
mates already.
Just a mate. Okay, yeah. So it's a bit of nepotism then. That's what that is then.
Totally.
Yeah.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Fine.
Allegedly. Yeah. I mean, you know, nice work if you can get it.
Yeah.
You know, but because he doesn't tick any boxes apart from being a writer. I mean,
Just
we've got
checking.
to remember that Mr. Teague there has been involved with the Blu-ray trailers, which all of us liked. The fans create a claim. We loved them.
They were great. Yeah.
But I don't remember any of you. Yeah, I don't remember of you celebrating either Kablam or Praxeus. Actually, Praxeus sounds more like something from Star Trek 6.
Praxeus
sounds a bit like a skin disease, to be honest.
I can't remember anything about Praxeus, to be quite honest. Kablam ended up about one person being a I don't think you can say it on the thing, but it begins with T and they go around blowing things up.
Yes.
I think it was unsurprisingly.
It was against capitalism as well, this one, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Oh, right. Okay. So just slag off the Western world then.
Basically,
yeah.
And Praxeus was about pollution as well. That was
was it that
exploding
one?
people. Remember that one? Yeah.
Oh, but that's what he's doing again with Russell now for the alleged Sea Devil nonsense.
Yeah. We
Isn't
actually
it?
thought the Sea Devil was going to be in this episode, and they weren't. Yeah.
Oh, right, did you? Oh,
They did just as well.
I'm so glad I was having a life. Lots of you in the chat talking about this particular one as well. Douglas Smith saying his former episodes were not great. Austin Woods was saying to us that all the true fans have now fled the TARDIS. Duncan Evans saying McTeague does the trailers on the classics. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Farsight, he was involved with the Discovery of Witches, wasn't he? Didn't like it. Now, I did. I liked Discovery of Witches. I really enjoyed it. But if you go and watch Discovery of Witches and then compare it to RTD2 Who, how far has Bad Wolf fallen? How far have they fallen? It's absolutely awful.
Do you remember what any Pete McTeague's episodes were like on Discovery of Witches?
Well, no, because it was all. I don't actually, because I wasn't looking at who was. Because it's all written by one author. It's all based on a series of books.
Yeah.
And I wasn't necessarily retaining the information of who was writing the different episodes because it's
so it was more
long
seamless
story.
then. That was the thing. Yeah.
It's one long story over the three series. They had to wrap up the third series, which wasn't that brilliant a bit because it was COVID.
Yeah.
They filmed it in 2020. Very, very good of them. But you got a truncated series, and it wasn't that good when it could have been. So much, it was the time, so you had to get on with it. I actually really enjoyed it, and I thought the players were good. I thought the writing was good.
Yeah,
I think it was a strong, continual writing. But I think they've all lost the plot now, to be quite honest. Robert Payne saying to us that Kablam wasn't exactly the best episode, was it? And Praxeus, why can't I say that? Was a bit blunt environmental stuff too. Praxeus was bloody awful. So there's problem being always straight to the point there, mate. Well done. Stephen Braddock also saying Praxeus was terrible. Joe is saying to us, I'm sure I broke my Praxeus once. Well, I hope you had an elastoplast.
Yes, I'm sorry about your Praxeus too, Miss Chapman. Yeah, exactly. That's it. So.
And we've got here Praxeus is the thing on Homeworld Moon that blew up, says Moriarty. Thank you. I knew I'd heard the word before. Star Trek 6, The Undiscovered Country. That's probably why I'm in my head. Not a Doctor Who word. You're not going to say it right. That's possibly what it could be because I'm strange like that.
I think that Praxis and Praxeus, they are quite close, aren't they? Either that or it was Zagreus' brother. Just throw that in there for you, Paul. Big
Thanks.
All this is canon, by the way. All this what we're saying now is now canon, okay? Because we've decided as fans that this is canon, and you have to all follow it. Thanks, Moriarty. Craig Dunlop is saying to us, I use Praxeus for my hemorrhoids. I'm sure you do. Doc Martin, maybe McTeague is the token white middle-aged guy. I think it probably is. And they were both bloody awful, says Sean Cryer. Kablam was so ridiculous. The doctor got a worker killed to save the corporation, says problem being. The less I know about this, the better.
The doctor had was it what's that? Amazon Prime. You get cheap delivery. That's why I had to deal with Amazon probably. Yeah.
No. Oh, is this the one with the robot that looks like the Greatest Show in the Galaxy robot?
Kind of, yeah.
I saw a photograph of it.
I was been watching Greatest Show in the Galaxy, just finished off the season 25 box set, and the bus conductor is played by the same actor who plays the android in Time Lash. Yeah.
Oh.
Dean.
Yeah, apparently, yeah.
Yes, that's in my head somewhere. Yes, I remember that.
I was surprised. I didn't know that. That's an interesting fact for a nerd like myself. It's good.
Yeah. But I remember seeing that picture of the robot, thinking, oh, they've brought the bus conductor back for some bizarre reason after 6,000 years. But obviously not. I might have torn my Praxeus giving birth, says Joe Chapman. Ooh, okay. And poor Rose saying, that's Praxis, JT, the Klingon moon that exploded. I quite like Star Trek 6. I don't care what any of you say.
That's a good film. Good film.
I love it. You know, I can watch any of the original crew Star Trek movies, especially on a lovely Sunday afternoon or even a Saturday night. From the motion picture, I'm going off on one now, I'm sorry. From the motion picture to number 6, I'm happy as Larry.
Which one's number 6? What's the title?
Undiscovered Country, the last one.
Oh,
Literally into the sunset. And you get that teary-eyed moment where all the cast sign things on the screen. Oh, it's lovely. Anyway, Sheila be in the devotions. Sorry, Ian?
It is good. It's because Star Trek 5, it took a real dip, didn't it? But really came back all guns blazing.
I can watch all the original cast in their films. Absolutely brilliant, better than that Next Generation lot that followed them. Ooh. Anyway, Sheila B in the devotions is saying no self-respecting writer would want to write for Doctor Who now. Having said that, I do like First Contact, but that's probably the only one.
I like First Contact as well. Yeah.
Paul Thomas Ashworth is saying Kablam wasn't that bad, in my opinion. Well, good. Thank you for putting that in there, mate. I appreciate that. You know, it's nice to get somebody coming out saying it wasn't that bad. Mudcrab, I will defend Peter as a person with a sword. Really nice guy. As a writer, maybe not, but I will utterly defend him as a person and a fan. Okay. Well, I've never met him and probably never will.
Well, like we said, I loved the trailers, and the one with Leela was fantastic. That was superb. So
that was your favourite.
Really good, yeah.
We even did a little show about that, didn't we? Do you remember last year?
Yeah.
Or the year before?
Fantastic,
It
yeah.
was last year, wasn't it? And McTeague's episodes are not even mediocre, says Shempmeister. Woodhouse 122, Praxis was diet with that awful Brazilian actress. There was a Brazilian actress in it. Oh dear.
Vaguely remember some Brazilian lady in it, yeah. Vaguely.
Hello, Marjorie. Doctor Who was a show for everyone. Now it's not. It's just for 10 viewers. I'm not going to argue with that. And problem being saying Discovery of Witches fell off a cliff in its final season. It did, but I do put it down, Lee, to the fact that they had to get it done under those ridiculous conditions that they were all working with. What's this, Bill Lowry? Praxis had the very gay couple. Their relationship had no effect on the story, but was very loud. I dread to think.
This was the one as well when spoilers come out. You won't be watching it, JT, but his partner's an astronaut and he nearly dies, but the Doctor managed to save him before he dies in the TARDIS. Not to mention the fact that Adric died and didn't save him, but they could save this complete stranger. There we are.
Oh,
remember
I see.
Remember that? Yeah. Much as I love Adric, obiously, but but it's kind of
poor old Adric.
interesting. Yeah.
The Doctor really didn't like Adric. He was quite happy to leave him. There we go now. Hiya, Jamie. Jamie9526. Kablam ended up being pro-capitalism because the system isn't the problem, it's the people. And Space AI Amazon was decided to be more of a goodie than the rebel-type person against it. It sounds very confusing to me and not very Doctor Who-y. I'm sorry, but it doesn't interest me at all. I'm so glad I've missed all this nonsense because I generally don't think I've missed anything.
Lee Mack was in it. He was one of the best things in it, to be honest. But
they killed him off, didn't they? They killed him off.
Yeah, killed him off. Yeah. But he was in it. Yeah.
What was he doing in it?
He was playing an employee of the Amazon type place.
Acting Jodie off the stage. That's what he was doing. Why they
That's
killed him off
quickly.
Yeah.
Oh,
Bradley Walsh.
Cut him out. Leave him on the floor. Yeah. We think Praxis was on about not being wasteful and environmental while standing in front of a large fiberglass and acrylic set, one-time used non-recyclable set that ended up in a landfill. Oh, really? That's stupid, isn't it, Carwin? See? They don't practice what they preach on anything, these people.
Or practice what they preach either, no. So.
Another franchise ruined by the woke ideology was Star Trek. Mark A. Right. Well, yes, absolutely right on that one. Thank you very much, everybody. It's so great to see you for this headlines. Your Sunday night big show. Where else are you going to be? There's nowhere else for you to be, really, is there? Because it's always crap on the telly, I can tell you. And it's great to see you all with your comments. The next writer, Inua Elms. I went to see Barbershop Chronicles at the National Theatre because it starred two friends of mine, Fisayo Ikanade and Cyril Neri, who I knew from Cucumber, a drama I wrote for Channel 4 in 2015, and which is best left in 2015 because it was utter dire editorial comment. So I came for the cast and fell in love with the writer. When I approached Inua about Doctor Who, I was amazed to discover that he talked to Chris Chibnall. I think their plans were swept away by COVID, but maybe it was meant to be because on a couple of months after that, Shooty approached me wondering if I'd ever thought of using a writer called Inua Elms. It's destiny.
No,
Chris
again,
Chibnall.
it's probably nepotism if he was a mate of Gatwa's.
Yeah.
It's just an old boys' club. It's just an extension of the Fitzroy Tavern, isn't it?
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah. Austin is saying, I love that hat. He's got some nice hats. They all seem to be the same, Austin, but I'm a hat person as well. And they're nice. And Austin's also saying, oh, well, this is a change of pace. He seems like a regular old bloke. Well, the proof will be in the pudding, won't it? About what he produces, what he has written, what we see. Robert, you've just distracted me with your comment there. He wrote Cucumber, enough said. No, that was RTD. The actors were in it that he knew. So this guy has nothing to do with Cucumber, and he should be very proud that he didn't. I was in that. I was an extra in Cucumber and Banana. It's quite nice money. That's all I'm saying. But when I watched it, I went, "Oh God, this is awful." I got so fed up with it all. It was absolutely terrible. Doc Martin is saying it's all nepotism rather than ability. Oh, and Austin's saying it was sarcasm. Oh, sorry. It's hard to say sarcasm, really, isn't it, on this thing? Yes, said Chris, agreeing with you. More Fitzroy Tavern crap. It's that sort of thing. Yeah, it's nepotism, as you're saying, Ian. Duncan is saying a writer even Chibnall didn't want to use. Oh boy. I don't think it's not that he didn't want to use it. RTD thinks it was because of COVID, or maybe that plan didn't get,
Or maybe that's just an excuse.
Or maybe that's just an excuse, actually.
Allegedly, again, I have to stress.
They're seldom honest, though, are they? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris Graham is saying to us, what I want to know is who could write good stories for the show? Rob Sherman.
Yeah.
Gareth.
Roberts.
Yeah.
I think there are good writers out there. Trevor Baxendale.
Yeah.
Allegedly not very approved, shall we say.
Paul Mars, even perhaps, I don't know, but yeah.
If they wanted to.
Yeah.
I mean, I would love to see Trevor working for a decent Doctor Who, because he's written some fantastic Doctor Who stories in his time. They are Doctor Who as well.
Yes,
very good stuff from Mr. Baxendale. Don't agree with everything he says, and he probably won't agree with everything I say, but who gives a toss? He's a great writer. And I'm just looking for one of the books that always reminds me of the New Adventures one, which I thought was brilliant. And I had to I'll have to find it for you, Who viewers, because I can't say. But it was, I read it and read it and read it and read it. It was an 8th Doctor one. It was absolutely fantastic. We've got Legion of James. There's no justification for these writers, as there is no credible CV of work to indicate why they have been hired. It's just one big virtue signal of look who we have hired. Agenda, DEI, tick, boxing. Yeah, you're right. And Julianne is saying to us, science fiction is a genre. So where are the genre writers? Well, it's not science fiction, Julianne, with RTD, is it? He's turned it into some sort of soap. He's really pushed that element now, because it's more fantastical soap opera. Do you not think, Julianne?
I remember Russell saying years ago when he first started, when he brought back to Doctor Who back on Confidential and things like that, or Doctor Who magazine, that writers who write Doctor Who have to be steeped in sci-fi and must know the tropes of sci-fi, all that kind of stuff, and how to write for it. And if there's no experience of sci-fi, you can't write Doctor Who, can you, really?
Well, but then again, he says, Stephen Moffat allegedly undersized sci-fi.
True.
And some of his stories were bloody awful, because he went too much into the nonsense, didn't he?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
I think Moffat just understands sitcoms that rotate around sex, like coupling, really. I don't think he's that good with sci-fi, really. I think he goes down, every single time he goes down a convoluted street where he uses silly terms like timey-wimey and tries to make time paradoxes. Every single time it's a time paradox, and it gets really dull.
Yeah. Well, it certainly did. And it certainly did for the other story, because as one of our Who viewers said, and I can't remember, whoever it was that said, he was responsible for the television version of Time Traveler's Wife. That mediocre, well, that book where they can't even spell traveler right. But it was okay. I couldn't get through it. It was a case of I've seen this before in Doctor Who, so I couldn't get through that book. But it was a big book, wasn't it? If you remember, it was everywhere. And then he produces this series, and it's cancelled after a little while because nobody wants to go into it. But what he did is he basically took the Time Traveler's Wife plotline and turned it into Doctor Who with the Doctor and River. Yeah. It was so stupid, so silly. I don't know.
And that was so convoluted. It was just crap.
And that's why I think a lot of the public went, "What?"
Yeah.
I mean, we're never going to get them again, but we need Robert Holmes writers. We need Uncle Terry writers. We need Malcolm Hulke. We need Derek Sherwin. We need proper writers, even if it's writers similar to those we got, like Barbara in the 80s and stuff. No agenda, no nonsense, just a story. Just write a story. And I don't think it's going to happen anytime soon, to be honest. Why don't the production team ask out for writers to write for Doctor Who in general, says TARDIS Travels?
Wasn't there some issue about their concern about copyright issues and plagiarism issues and things like that, weren't they? To have like a call out in case they steal some of the ideas by mistake.
Yes. The
What's
original
the stuff David's been doing for years?
Yeah,
He's been- ever
he's
since
been
Rose.
paying homage, Ian.
Yeah.
Well, one of the
Other
biggest
terms
ones.
are available, eh, Paul?
Yes, they are. Yeah.
One of the biggest ones they did homage was, of course, A Christmas Carol. It even used the same bloody title.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same plot line, really, isn't it, as the Dickens classic. But no, Tyler's Travels, as Paul was saying there, years ago when the show came back, they said they weren't going to be taking any submissions. They would be approaching the writers because they were terrified that if somebody was rejected, and then somewhere down the line, a similar plot line was used or a similar episode was produced into Doctor Who, then that original person could come back and say, I showed you my script. Here's the original copy. Here's the receipt of me sending it to you. You've used my idea. Here's my lawyer. It's as simple as that. Which some people would have tried to do.
There was allegedly something similar happened in Classic Who regarding Davros's design. Do you remember that case? No. Yeah.
Yeah, vaguely.
Yeah. Peter Day allegedly was influenced by a fan's drawing of someone who looked like Davros, apparently. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
And that was tried before, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, somebody tried to do that also with the Daleks, I seem to remember, years ago, or it seems like years ago. I don't know. It's you can't win, can you? You can't win. The more successful something goes, the more somebody's going to come along and say, "Oh, that was me." Richard Brooks is also saying it's so typical of these misogynistic histophobes. Where is Suze Kempner? That's another name that came to mind this week because, of course, you're right. People who are the same as them, if you like, are getting through to the show, basically, aren't they? They approved, if you like. Small Swole Goat, nice to see you again. Even if they won't be doing woke writing, they'll still play too safe, I think. Case in point, they've censored re-releases of Sirens in Time and even Too Fat Line in colorization of war games. I don't know about the Sirens of Time thing, but yeah, definitely the war games. But
they've done a Redux 25th anniversary edition of Science of Time just to cash in on it. Yeah, but I don't know what they've done to it. I've never heard it. So.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh. Shelley is with us. Hello, Shelley Ingle. I think the creators of Human will be the new showrunner. I could picture the actor who played Sam and will play the new Doctor in the new reboot. He's quite easy on the eye as well, so I wouldn't mind that. But yeah, because of course Sam Mann is finishing, isn't it? They're wrapping it all up very quickly, as they all are for Mr. Gaiman's work, because they've decided on things, and it's anyway. We've talked about that, haven't we? Can't say much more about that.
More cancellation.
I don't know I don't know, Shelley. Nice to see you. Welcome to Who's Views. I don't know Human, so I can't talk about that at all. But I am convinced there isn't going to be another showrunner or producer for quite some time. I am absolutely convinced on that one. So stay with us here on Who's Views, because when all this news comes out, of course, we are going to be talking about it, right? Okay, I've put it off long enough, haven't I? I'm going to get myself all worked up again now, because yes, here we go with the fourth writer that has written for Doctor Who, alleged Doctor Who season 2, is of course Juno Dawson. I've been lucky enough to know Juno for years, says RTD. I remember shouting a conversation at him about my return to Doctor Who at the Attitude Awards in 2021 in the Camden Roundhouse, with Steps playing live in the background. Oh, the glamour. And I love his fantasy novels. I devour them. We then welcomed Juno onto the team when he wrote the Doctor Who Redacted podcast. So it feels like he's always been here. It's simple. It simply felt natural and easy and vital to pivot from that to the TV show itself, with possibly the maddest brief I've ever given anyone, which Juno seized with glee. So there you go. So RTD is confirming that he's given the brief of what he wants from an episode, and they've had to toddle off and produce to write it and then come back. Now, allegedly, he has written the Eurovision style story, which also allegedly has Rylan Clark. If you're outside the UK, don't be Googling him. You're not missing much. You're in for a little bit of a shock if you're going to watch this once. I can tell you, his teeth coming first. Anyway, so there we go. So there's Juno Dawson. That's what RTD had to say about Juno Dawson. Now, we, of course, broke this, came back with this story when the news broke on Monday. So our headlines on Monday. Thank you all for being here for that impromptu show. And we talked about this, and a few of us were raging about this inclusion of Juno Dawson. Now, Juno Dawson has history with a lot of us because, yes, Juno Dawson is a transgender woman. That's not the issue. That is not the issue. The issue for most of us is what he has been saying over the years in the books and in the magazines where he's been interviewed. It basically comes off as, and he has said an awful lot of homophobic and misogynistic things. Now, before we get into this story, let's remind ourselves of what he said on Monday on his Instagram. He did this to the haters who said, "I can't keep secrets in your face. My first scripted telly episode of BBC Doctor Who will air later this year on BBC iPlayer in the UK and Disney Plus globally. Heartfelt thanks to RTD and the entire team Bad Wolf TV for letting me play with your toys. It has been a dream come true. The best work experience anyone could ask for, and an utter pleasure from start to end." Particular thanks also to Film Ben Williams for letting me onto his set. What excellent vibes. So that's the set that looks there. It looks like a Blue Peter set to me, but that apparently is the set of Doctor Who. Yeah, so that was the Monday. We came back and did the show on the Monday, and we were also reporting some of the feedback, if you like, of this announcement. A lot of it wasn't good. A lot of it was not good. And as you saw at the top of the show, Juno Dawson wasn't happy. Let's have a look at that again, shall we?
Yesterday was a real reminder that trans people cannot publicly have success. We are not allowed to do well without getting just a slew of on social media. Like, I should be able to do my job without being abused. You know, particularly on Twitter. I mean, I deleted my main account years ago, but I looked at what people were saying on the side. I got to thinking, and it's really disgusting. Like, people should not be allowed to say those things about someone. Yeah, and it's just because I'm trans. If I was cisgender, I don't think there would be an issue. But I need to ignore that because, you know, I won.
Firstly, the voice. It's very annoying, isn't it? It's absolutely... The terminology he's using as well. I mean, he's still insulting people there. This cis thing, these awful, idiotic, far-left people insist on using. Why, over the last year and a bit, has that come out from this, you know, to define and label? Again, it's another label. They insist now on anybody that's an actual man or woman, i.e. not a trans person.
They just make words up, don't they?
Yeah.
It's just ridiculous. Yeah. And they all justify it. And some of their supporters come back to, oh, it was used in ancient times. Well, it was bloody ancient times then. Get a grip with the blood and modern world. Who cares? It hasn't been used in polite society since ancient time. Get a grip. But if anyone calls me cis male, I'll bloody well have something to say to them, because no. I don't need a label to tell me that I'm not transgender. Thank you very much. I'm quite happy being a fella. Thank you very, very much. You know, and this is why this whole thing, LGB without the TQ, has really been promoted this week. Not just thanks to the Republican administration in America, who have really clamped down on stuff this week. They've actually even redone the terminology in a lot of the civil service guidelines over there as well. It's no longer LGBTQ plus, it's LGB. Thank you very much to them. Common sense coming through again. Let's hope it gets here. But why is he talking about? And it's not because he's transgender. It's because he's been absolutely vile over the years. He really, really has. I mean, look at this. We showed this on Monday. I don't apologize for showing them again. There are a lot of gay men out there who are gay men as a consolation prize because they couldn't be women. That was certainly true of me, he once said. Well, it might have been true of you, but don't dare talk about the rest of us in that, because there's millions of us that are quite happy being fellas. Thank you very much. That's why it's called same-sex attraction, you utter loon. I mean, there he goes again, playing the victim. Oh, I looked at Twitter. And do you know what people were saying? Exactly what I'll do here. The truth. And not calling him a her. And apparently we shouldn't be allowed to do that. Well, tough titty, because it's a protected right here in the United Kingdom. And it's the truth. Get over yourself, you vile creature.
The more and more I see of this guy, I get, as you said, he's vile. And for me, it's got nothing to do with the fact he's trans. I don't care about that. That's entirely up to him. But his behaviour, that these quotes you put up, there's been a couple of them, I think are really insulting. And that's okay for him to say that, but not the other way around. Again, hypocrisy.
Yeah, completely. I mean, I've seen stuff that's allegedly objectifying women, saying basically what they're there for, and they just this bloke strikes me as being very, very, very unpleasant, and typical of the left and the far left, in that they are quite happy to say be kind whilst being really bloody nasty, and the minute they get some incoming return fire, they go online and start pleading the victim, and it just doesn't wash anymore. It hasn't washed properly for a while, but it just doesn't wash at all. It's vile. They're vile. He's vile.
Again, Ian, it winds me up. Legion of James, what you say? No, Dawson, it's not because you're trans, it's because you are a vile, hateful, homophobic irritant. The victimhood card has expired. Move along. Well said, Legion of James. And that's what gets me. And it also gets me, again, as we're saying there, Paul and Ian, the hypocrisy of these people. They're going to turn a blind eye, quite conveniently, to what Juno Dawson has been saying over the years, what he has written aimed at young people as well, from the age of around about 10, 11 years old. You know, that some of that context is absolutely disgraceful in my book. That's there. And they'll turn a blind eye. And yet, will they employ Gareth Roberts for saying a TW is a man? An absolute truth? No. Would they hire again Jimmy Dreyfus for saying the same thing, for supporting J.K. Rowling? No. So this is in Doctor Who, everybody. I honestly never foresaw the day when this thing came back, where we would get to this far left utter hypocrisy, and all about never mind the stories, never mind this. We'll use Doctor Who as a vehicle to tell the public of Britain and the world, this is how you should think. I'm still shocked. And here he is. And now here he comes along on his Instagram or wherever it was to say, oh, boo-hoo, squidge. It's all about this. Oh, they all hate me because I'm trans. It's nothing to do with you being trans. That's it. But that's exactly what they'll go for now, won't they? And we will be reporting it if it comes up, because I guarantee you somebody somewhere on one of these websites is going to say, like they did with Shooty, oh, you got a lot of backlash. Oh, now Shooty didn't get the backlash, but this one deserves the backlash because of what he has been saying over the last 10, 15 years.
Well, as you said, and compared to what happened to John Bannerman, and he was joking about, larking around. But if you look into his background more detailed, you'll see there's much more going on there, allegedly, than seem to meet the eye, you know?
Yeah. A lot of you have obviously done some homework on this as well, and I'm aware of this creature now. Thank you so much for all your comments here. There is a lot out there. And this is the thing, the internet won't lie in that sense, is it? Because it doesn't forget. So everything's out there. Duncan Evans is saying, aren't Juno Dawson's books banned from schools? No, unfortunately not. They're not banned. Some would turn around and say, please don't stock it. Please don't put it out there. But they don't have to say, I mean, you know, if we start banning books, though, where does that take us? But you can select, you know, if they come out and say something like, oh, ban that, it doesn't look good. But they can say to the librarian, read the things first, and what do you think? But the problem is with schools in the UK, they are also in the grip of the DEI and the TQ cult.
Or it should be on the top shelf in a brown wrapper, perhaps. That's what you said.
Yeah.
Above the shelf with the porn in it.
Hey, that's the one, exactly.
Now, he mentioned there that he was looking on Twitter. I'd like to know, well, I wouldn't really. The last time I heard of Juno Dawson and looked him up ages ago on Twitter, his account had been suspended for violating the rules.
Oh, really? So he hadn't closed it down himself. He was shut down. That's good.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
I wonder when that was as well, JT, because I wonder if it was before Musk or after Musk. Because if he got shut down before Musk, well, that's some going then, because the mods pre-Musk and Dawson are going to be very much aligned. So if they banned him, that's saying something.
Right, I'm going to take that back because do you know what? I don't know because I didn't follow him, but I did have spats with him occasionally, especially as I became more aware of what the TQ element was doing to LGB.
Yeah.
And when he was coming back with some of the, quite frankly, vile things he was saying, you know, and what he was doing as well. And I can't remember the time. So I'll take that. I don't know. I don't know when it was. Anyway, so we've got that there. This was one thing he did say on Twitter a while ago. Puberty blockers are totally reversible should a patient wish to cease medical transition. So where's the harm? Now, that's what the laws say. And of course, that is not true. It is a lie. And they know it. They are not irreversible. If you give a child puberty blockers, what does it do? Wake up. It blocks
developing.
Yeah. Yes, that's why they're called puberty blockers. So if you're giving a young girl, especially as they tend to do, puberty blockers from the age of 13, 14, she's not going to go through the proper maturing process for a woman. It has major consequences on their health. Same for a boy. And what they have been doing allegedly is that they have been identifying over the last God knows how many years across the world, not just in Britain, but especially in America as well, obviously, young people, telling them they're being born in the wrong body, prescribing the puberty blockers, and then transing them later on. Now, they may not go through the process, but this is where it gets confusing with the word trans. Define trans, because there's three versions: transgender, transvestite, transsexual, right? Define which one you are, or which one you're going to be doing, because transgender to me is going through a lot of drugs and a lot of very painful and very intimate operations. That's transgender. So if you're not going through that, to me, you're not transgender. So I don't know where he comes in. I don't know where this Dawson fellow comes into that. And I'm not frankly interested. It's none of my business. But when it comes to children, we're now seeing the effects that an awful lot of these people that were put on puberty blockers in the United Kingdom turned out to just be gay, i.e. same-sex attracted. And that's what got me, because that's another form of homophobia to me. And I know that an awful lot of LGB woke up to this, and that's why LGB without the TQ was born, because we started to say, no, this is homophobic.
Yeah.
I
mean, this all should be age appropriate anyway, shouldn't it? That's the thing. You know?
Yeah. Well, it never was. It never was.
I'd seen a video the other day. I might have shared it, JT. A girl, it was in America, but she was saying that in around the age of 13 or 12 or 13, she'd been given puberty blockers. She'd had at 16, I think, a double mastectomy, and was there now having transitioned back and was a female as a female. And she was saying that it was all forced on her and it was not what she wanted. And now her life is ruined because she can't have children. And it's horrendous, absolutely horrendous.
Yeah. And these people are supporting this. Now, we reported last year on this thing that's come out in Britain, which is also now having an effect in America, because people who are in the Republican Party, who are now in government, have read the Cass report. Very important document. It proved every one of us, like myself, that were, and Lee in the chat, that were pushing against this thing. Right. Everything in that was what we've been saying, and were blasted down for, lost friends over, called all sorts of names for, had people turn their backs on us. People tried to cancel us, in some cases succeeded. But the Cass report came out with the actual proof after several years' research. And they still deny it. And these people are in charge of Doctor Who.
And yet you get something like the pandemic that we had. That's a word we can use, isn't it? Pandemic.
I hope so.
The same far
just
left,
not the C word.
The same far left people were always preaching, follow the science, follow the science, follow the science. And yet with this, it's ignore the science, ignore the science,
ignore the facts.
Just make it all up.
And the fact that a lot of people associated with Doctor Who have jumped on this bandwagon because they're following a certain showrunner and writer whose word is law. You know, that's what I think. If he says it, then we're on the right path because he knows the game arc. This has nothing to do with LGB, nothing to do with LGB at all. This is to do with a cult, a TQ cult. I've said it before. The Q word is also a homophobic slur. It's got nothing to do with us. And thank God that the Republicans, I never thought I'd say this in my life, but the Republicans have woken up to this. And they actually have gay people in the cabinet. You know, they have gay people there who have advised on this. Common sense. Adrian Sherlock is saying to us, the law restricts children from making decisions they are not mature enough to make responsibly.
Yeah, quite right.
You would think so, but there's the proof in the pudding. And of course, we do have schools, some British schools, absolutely, and also in America, that are so now devoted to what Stonewall, the now discredited charity that represented LGB but now represents TQ, which is now in the gutter, by the way, with people, including yesterday, the Green Party pulling out of its funding for it. The Green Party, one of the wokest parties in the United Kingdom, for crying out loud. Even they've disassociated themselves. The BBC disassociated themselves with this lot. I mean, you know, they've been responsible for this. They are in the schools. In Scotland, it's LGBTU Scotland that are in the schools, and they preach this stuff. And you know, you can go into schools and you can see on the doors of the classrooms the name of the teacher and their personal pronouns. It's ridiculous. You can go into their libraries and you can question some of the reading material you've got there. And the teachers think it's safeguarding to not tell the parents when a child in their care says to them, I want to be a boy or a girl or whatever the opposite gender is. And they don't tell the parents. So
it's not up to the teacher to make that decision, is it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So Adrian, is the law actually working? Because it seems to me that some of the law isn't working. Adrian has quite rightly come back saying a minor cannot make the decision. No, that's my point. But instead of going down the entire and because it's a trend now as well, you know, they're just not telling the adults, and the adults that are around them are so intent on being virtuous and being the right sort of person in their head, they're not telling the parents. I would be livid. I would be livid if a school was responsible for that. I really would. It's insane. It's insane. Paul Rose is saying to us, all this rubbish needs to end soon. I'm so tired of it. We've already ruined at least a few generations of kids with this stuff. Absolutely. And it's going to go on for such a long time. Tennant says, listen to the kids, says garbage. Only when it suits him.
Yeah.
If it, you know, I would say allegedly, you know, leave the kids alone. I would say leave the kids alone. If the kids don't know about this stuff, they're not going to go around saying, "Oh, I'm gender dysphoric," or I'm trapped in their own body,
and not knowing what it means. Really, that's the thing.
Absolutely, and it's only because they've been told about it by the adults around them. It says to me there's some pretty sick adults in the world around these kids. Yeah. Drawing Jack Rabbit has just joined us in the chat. Nice to see you, Jack. Hope you are well, and I hope your mum's well. We all are our best to you from all of us here.
Yeah.
Hope you're fine, and hope she's fine as well. Give her our best. We are talking at this particular point now about the Juno Dawson news. Yes, he is actually writing for the next series. I just still can't quite believe it, to be quite honest. Although I did know it was coming. I knew it was going to be happening.
Can we put bets on now that the episode will be about some trans issue then, you think? Yeah, it's got to be, surely. It's not about the Davros and the Daleks, is it? Let's be honest.
There's bound to be something in there, isn't there, Paul? Yeah. There's bound to be, because both RTD and Dawson are not going to let it go. There's, this is all to come. It's actually interesting.
They won't be able to help themselves.
Well, considering that this redacted thing that he was involved in was also about the trans issue.
Yeah.
Now, how well did that do for them? Not very well.
I don't think it went very well, did it?
No, didn't do very well. Has it had a commercial release?
No.
Didn't they? They announced it as the gayest Doctor Who they'd ever been,
which was a bloody insult.
Absolutely, but that
I've not seen Happiness Patrol, surely. God, right,
have they not seen Red?
They can't write about anything else.
Yeah.
Robert Holmes wrote about loads of different topics, loads of different things, loads of different stories. One story was different from another, unless it was like the Return of the Autons and Terror of the Autons, and even then it was a different story. It wasn't retreading Spearhead or anything like that. This bloke just writes, you know, I'll write about this particular topic because that's all my life rotates around, and that's it. And I can't
And it's the
vary
same
it.
as RTD.
Yeah.
They're exactly the same. I mean, this is all. I mean, this is why I'm saying now. This is Dr. DEI. This is Dr. Activism. They have turned Doctor Who from the family favourite show that it was for 26 pure years, and then an additional few with the reboot series, right? And they've turned it into a vehicle for them to gob off because it was the easiest thing for them to do. You know, because, you know, imagine an RTD pitching now a trans drama to the American networks. Not going to work. It might just work in Britain, but by the time they filmed it, things may have changed here. It's. I have to say, it's unlikely with the left-leaning Labour government we've got now, and are more, you know, just useless on all accounts. But the times are changing, and as I've said before, it's going to be very interesting to see what the reaction to Doctor Who Series 2 will be. Can you imagine what it's going to be like when the alternative media get hold of this particular news, because they've had bigger stories to talk about, but when Doctor Who comes back, I reckon we're going to be seeing more of it. There was some reaction to the news, Paul, on Monday and Tuesday on, of course, X and social media. One of them being this one. I'm very, very proud of Juno, said Chris Chapman. How brilliant. Well, is he just jumping on the bandwagon to keep his paymasters happy as well? Does he know them? I mean, yeah, exactly. There are others. Take a look at this. Graham Linehan. Doctor Who is becoming a lifeboat for men who hate women and gay people. If you don't want your kids groomed, don't let them watch it.
Quite right.
There was a comment underneath it as well, because he was replying to that one there from Le Sorel Oredino, KPSS. Juno Dawson unveiled as a writer on Doctor Who. A man who views a woman as a thing to be, and I'm not saying that obviously, and who thinks gay men are gay men as a consolation prize because they couldn't be women. Misogyny and homophobia are very in vogue at the BBC at the moment.
That's such a vile thing to say. It really is, isn't it?
Well, that's what he did say.
Yeah.
He absolutely did say that, and I can prove it as it is on Monday. Where there it is. Yeah. That's what he said, and this is where he really started to get a lot of same-sex attracted men and women realizing that this wasn't a particularly nice person.
No, not at all.
But you're not allowed to say anything nasty about them, otherwise they'll have to put a video out saying how sorry it is that they have to endure things like that, and then finish it off by saying, but I won. Do you remember one of the Alan Partridge series when he was stuck in the travel tavern, and he had a book that ended up getting pulped because it wasn't successful, a bit like Doctor Who magazine is a lot of the time and will be. And he was being interviewed on it, and they pointed out that most of his chapters ended, but in the end I had the last laugh. And it all got rather pathetic for him, and it just reminded me of that. Really, it's just a little bit pathetic, isn't it?
I can't remember that. Sorry, was that in the 90s? Was that the turn of the century? I don't remember that.
Early naughty, really funny though, well worth it. I like Alan Partridge; it's quite funny. I mean, I think the guy is a bit of a knob, but I do like the character.
He's had a nice career though, hasn't he? Let's face it.
Yeah,
yeah.
I used to like Paul and Pauline Calf. He used to do them. Remember? The sketches,
yes.
Yeah, they're quite fun. Yeah.
No idea. I was too busy out. I'm sorry, I was too busy in disco dancing and stuff.
Well, I did have a video recorder, GT, so I can record
what's one of them? Chris Carlin is saying, but they are allowed to be nasty to us, even without reason. Yes, and don't we know it? How many times now? Russell mentioned in one of those things I read before, the Attitude Awards, where he was speaking to Juno Dawson. That's one of the where I really went, this guy's losing the plot, because he kicked off. He was talking about there's no LGBT without the T. Yes, there is. He was going on about this. He was going on about how the Tories were M-word people. Do you remember all this? He was absolutely going off it, and the whole room was so, oh yeah. It was sickening. I would have heckled him if I'd been there, saying, "You're talking shite." Really, come and get me then. Very annoying. The timescales where they're saying, how is that not profane sexual harassment? And the BBC allows and encourages this. Well, the BBC timescales are turning a blind eye to it because they no longer produce Doctor Who. As I said on our show last February, we're now coming to a year since I complained to the BBC about RTD and the way he was expressing himself and other matters that were of concern. And the BBC got back to me from the complaints division saying he's not our problem. In a nutshell, he's an award-winning British writer of huge caliber, they said, if you remember. And basically, it's in our review show if you want to go and look at it as well for last year. And basically, they washed their hands of him, saying he's not employed by us now. He's an independent. With BBC
well, allegedly, the BBC have always turned a blind eye to this kind of thing, haven't they?
Yeah, they do have fallen for it, don't they?
They have,
really?
yeah.
Good point.
JT, we had before Timescales' comment, we had a super chat from Agent Smith me from Australia, $5 Australian. Greetings from Australia. They say we're years behind, so at least we have classic. Absolutely, they do.
Yeah.
Thank you very
You
much.
had lots of repeats as well, as we keep being reminded of.
Yeah. How jealous were we in the 80s, eh?
Yeah, we were, yeah.
Oh, yeah. No, that's great. Thank you for your super chat there. Great to see you as well. And if you were with us at the beginning of the show, Agent Smith, me, I said hello to you at the beginning of the show as well. So it's lovely to see you on this one. Thank you for your emails and thank you for your comments and getting in touch. Appreciate it. Paul Schlefter saying really shocking comments. Austin Woods is saying, endure what? A few jokes compared to the ramming they willingly take. I just don't understand the priorities risk analysis. And during Jack Rabbit is saying to us, this is what happens when you're protected classes. Where's the equality in that? God, I hate these people. They really get on my nerves as well, I have to say. What else we got here as well? Tony Farrell's TARDIS. It used to be said that there is no such thing as bad publicity. I think that Juno's appointment is the exception that proves the rule. Jobs for the boys. It's obviously jobs for the boys. I mean, Russell, we talked about this, didn't we, last year? Russell went out of his way last year to say that he was going to hire more trans writers. He didn't mean more trans writers. He meant Juno Dawson.
Yeah.
Because he's admitted this started in 2022. He wasn't going to hire a variety of people we hadn't heard of, some of whom I would reckon would be proper science fiction fans who could write science fiction. He was going for the one that was already known because he thought it was going to draw people in. It isn't. It absolutely isn't. And the guy is poisonous. Here's some more proof of that, because I've mentioned this one before from Sonia Gerlich. The Juno referred to here is Juno Dawson, the man who complained to IPSO about being described as a man in The Spectator. On the back of that came this, another woman, Julie Bindel. Now, Julie Bindel is a writer and co-founder of the law reform group Justice for Women. Julie says here, this utter bellend was instrumental in getting me retrospectively cancelled from a bookstore in Australia. He's a nasty piece of work and also not a great writer by anyone's standard. Here's another one on the back of the announcement that Juno Dawson has written a Doctor Who episode. This is from Helen Saxby, writer and women's rights campaigner. He is inexplicably the darling of Radio 4 arts and magazine programs, despite being both homophobic and misogynistic, and having a record of going after women's careers if they don't believe he's a woman. I don't usually post about individuals, but I'll make an exception for Juno Dawson, because not only is he one of the nastiest out there, but at the same time, he manages to remain plausible to all the important people he needs for his own self-promotion. Popular guy, then.
Seems to be, yeah.
So there's going to be an awful lot to come when this word has started to get out this week now as well. And there are a lot of people in LGB and also in the women's groups that are not very happy about this. I think the BBC are going to be inundated with complaints and they're not going to care because it's not the BBC producing Doctor Who anymore. It's two independent businesses.
But it is the BBC putting it out on their channel, isn't it? Yeah. So they will get a significant amount of blowback for that and they'll deserve every second of it. And I hope it really, really hurts. And we'll be there having lots of fun when it does.
Yeah. Just as a break for a couple of minutes, we've got some good news from Jack. Thanks, everybody, for all the support on the panel and in the chat. My mum called me from the hospital earlier and she sounded a lot better. Excellent.
That's good to hear.
Well, that is good to hear. That is good news. Send her all our love, will you, Jack, as well? You know, that's lovely. So thank you for that and telling us that and giving you that update. Baby Cow have done some dope stuff. Boosh. Let's have a look at this. John Mason saying Graham Linehan is a wokester. They just turned on him for the women's rights issue. Well, they did. They absolutely did. And they destroyed his life. He's now in America, working in America. with Andrew, and good luck to him. Apparently somebody's hired him. He's going to do well there now because the tide has turned in America. He's going to be able to do some good stuff. What else have we got here? Thank you, everyone. Agent Smith Media again. Nice to see you. Nice to see you all here. My Roku is with us as well. LGB are all sexual orientations. The rest are all identities. Yep. We have a super chat coming up here, I believe. That's just put together. Let's see if we can find that. Thank you very much. Keep your chats coming, everybody. We are, of course, in the show also going to be asking about your sum up coming up soon. Don't put them in yet, but I'll tell you when. And thank you, Joe, for your super chat. Fine work. Please all consider sharing. Thanks so much, JT, exposing Juno Dawson for what he is. Well, you and I both know what he is, don't we, mate? He is a misogynistic homophobe, and he's writing for Doctor Who. This series has fallen so far into the gutter, and it's no wonder that a lot of us decent fans want the thing off the air. It's just an embarrassment. It really is an embarrassment now. I mean, how can we call ourselves Doctor Who fans when there's too many activists writing a show from the far left? Do you know what I mean? It makes me sick, quite frankly.
You lose words, don't you? Really, it's you know. I mean, you go back to the 80s and Cartmel and everything, and they were talking about how they were sort of like with Happiness Patrol trying to undermine the government, which was a right-wing government at the time, and they were coming from a left-leaning angle, and the BBC's always been left-leaning, I think. But this is turning up to 11, isn't it? And going straight full-on crazy. I mean, they're absolutely rabid. They can't help it. They're you know, if they were animals, you'd put them down, wouldn't you? They're just insane.
John Mason is saying to us here, Julie Bindle, who was in one of those tweets, is far from perfect. She's an extremist in her own way. I mean, none of us are perfect, John, I would argue, and I don't agree with everything Julie says. However, when it comes to the LGB issue, I'm on the same page as her. It's the same as everyone. J.K. Rowling, I'm on the same page when it comes to the women's issue and the LGB issue, but I don't agree with everything J.K. Rowling has said, because J.K. Rowling is actually quite left-leaning as well, as I used to be. I'm more centre left, maybe centre right now, because they've been pushing things at me. They just say, no, you can't. That's ridiculous. So, yeah, I mean, she can be, but I'm not surprised when she's getting the hassle and the threats that she gets. I mean, don't forget she's getting death threats and she's getting cancellation threats, and she gets threats of one sort or another every single day. Not to J.K. Rowling's amount, because she gets millions every single day, 7 days a week, but Julie gets them as well. So I can understand why she's become harder. I really can, because that's what they've done to people. No more heroes and no more heroines, just men in drag and women girl bosses, Agent Smith, me. And Adrian Sherlock is saying the BBC have let a major cash cow go to pot. Haven't they just? BBC Studios, surely get your act together now. Honestly. What a disgrace to this wonderful show that was made by Lambert, Holmes, Dix, Letts, and all the others. The longer this goes on, the more it's ruined, says Jack. Yeah,
it's ruined completely now. Sadly,
that's why it needs a long time off. I think everybody, it needs to come off, and it needs to stay there for a little while.
And they need to leave the classic alone instead of doing that War Games rubbish on it and trying to retcon it to their model. Just leave
at least if it's cancelled, Ian, eventually this year, that there won't be a Tomb of the Cybermen colorizer or anything like that. Thank God.
Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Joe again, it's bonkers. There were next to zero trans about when I was a teen in the gay scene. Gay men practically raised me. They now claim they were everywhere. They've rewritten our history. They've written LGBT history and shoehorned the T and, believe it or not, the Q into our history. They were nowhere there. They now say that the Stonewall riots of '69 was started by a trans woman. Lies, lies, lies. Marsha, as he was a gay man in drag who wasn't even there. If you know, he was blocks away off his head. It was the 60s. You know what I'm telling you? He wasn't even there. There are videos of him saying, "Don't call me a woman. I'm a gay man in a frock." You can go and see it on the platform, the Tube of Who. These people are in such denial. They've been shoehorning this in. You know, I get people shouting at me on guys on social media every day. You should be grateful for your rights because trans people got your rights. No, they bloody well didn't. It was same-sex attracted people. How dare you take our achievements away from us, you bloody idiots? How ignorant are you? You know, it wasn't there. I know there were no trans people around when I was out in the late 80s through the 90s, and even into the beginning of the 2000s, on the marches and stuff like that, and all the activism we did. No, there were transvestites occasionally, but they didn't want anything to do with us. They had their own little areas, because that was some fella called Jeff going out in his wife's clothes on a Saturday night. Totally different.
Yeah.
You know? It does annoy me, Joe, I have to say. Adrian's saying to us, I used to be leftist, but these people have alienated me. That's what I mean. And then they now come back and all call us right wing. Well, who made us right wing? They did. The BBC wasn't always leftist, as problem being. It was liberal for sure, but they hired writers from all political persuasions, because the old BBC, of course, was balanced. It was about all people, and all they were there was to entertain. They didn't care about people's political opinions, did they?
And they didn't tell you without asking them, you know. And even then, they wouldn't tell you, you know. But...
yeah, it didn't qualify you for the job. I've said before, and I'll say it again and continue to say it. There are certain casting directors who have blocked all of us that don't agree with him. Do you know what I'm saying? On X and all that sort of stuff, who aren't going to employ any actor that won't bend the knee to the way they're thinking.
No.
And let's look at the casting in Doctor Who, shall we? Pathetic, isn't it? I used to be a Doctor Who fan when it was good, said Brian Mason. Nowadays, I prefer to distance myself from it as much as possible. Well,
it's embarrassing, isn't it? Let's be honest.
Yeah. And Dalek Lives Matter saying, shows how deep in the pit they've descended. Anti-hetero, anti-man, anti-woman, anti-morality, anti-Christ. Well,
you can't argue with any of that, though, can you? It's true.
No.
Well, no, it makes you think, doesn't it? It really does. Yeah, it is. We are where we are with it, but I do think this is now really becoming to the end. It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen when they start doing, and how they start doing the publicity for this episode with Dawson.
Well, like I say, there'll be a whole program dedicated to him on the Unleashed program on BBC Three, no doubt. You know,
absolutely.
Interviewing himself like Tom Baker did in that video in the 90s, just not as good.
Yeah.
Well, nowhere near as good. No, not at all.
Nowhere near.
Yeah. We're gonna move on for that. We are going to be returning to the Juno Dawson story, because, like it or not, everybody, Juno Dawson is now going to be in every single Doctor Who book that is written about the history of Doctor Who from now to the end of time. Because, like it or not, he has now written for the show. He was given the gig by the alleged showrunner, Russell T Davies, and it's going to be broadcast on BBC One. So, like it or not, he's going to be there. So, it's not going to go away. And I think this story deserves to be bigger. I think it deserves to be absolutely spoken about. And I do think there needs to be some very serious discussions about this, which leads me to the community tab on our very channel, because just the other day there, here on this channel, I put out this question to you all as subscribers. Should Juno Dawson's episode be televised? This is the result before the show live tonight. As you can see, at that particular point, we had 162 votes. Yes was 10%, and no, it shouldn't be televised was 90%.
Wow.
Out of 162 votes. I'm going to keep an eye on that. If you haven't voted, it's there on the community tab, which I think now is called polls. I think they've changed it over the last day, but you'll find it there. If you want to vote and you haven't done already, it's a simple yes or no. I'm going to be keeping an eye on it, but at the moment, the no's have it with 90%. The television, the story shouldn't be televised. That would really be one in the eye for them if they decided they had to pull it, wouldn't it? They wouldn't like that at all.
Well, I think they should broadcast it just to show how bad it is, because it's going to make Rogue look good, I bet, you know?
Yeah. But, I think they should show everything, warts and all, and absolutely get a caning for it.
Yeah.
Bill is saying, so the voting on that is close. Yeah. We're going to keep an eye on it, as I say, and we'll come back to it every now and then here. We've got a new feature on headlines now. We're going to be doing it tonight. It's called To Sum Up. If you have anything you want to talk about, any of the stories we talked about tonight, to sum up, start putting them into the chat now. I will look for them in a second. Start it, please, with To Sum Up, so I know what I'm looking for. Guys, if you could keep an eye on the first one for me as we go into this. our last story tonight, because have you seen this, everybody in the chat? This has come from The Spectator yesterday, the 1st of February. Doctor Who fans and its writers need to grow up. I thought this was quite funny. As you can see, this has been written by Druin Birch. I hope I'm saying your name right as well. But this actually... let's have a look at this if you haven't seen this, because basically, yes, this was, as I say, published tomorrow. There's one. Legion of James has given us a sum up. Right, let me just put that, and John as well. Just highlighting that so I can come back to the garbage. All right. Thank you very much. Let's get on with this particular story then. As you can see, they need to grow up. Scripting the best TV show of all time is truly a dream come true, says Juno Dawson, who has just been announced as one of them. I started watching when I was 10 in Nigeria, explains Inua Elams, another new recruit. The show invited me to dream, to live beyond my reality. Getting to write for the show felt like touching God, he adds. It's safe to say the writers and the corporation alike are impressed with the show's importance. It's harder to say why. There's been a flurry of interest in this announcement, as there always seems to be when it comes to news about Doctor Who. Much fuss, I understand, has been made over the years about the show's woke agenda, uncertain pronouns, black, gay, or openly Scottish leads. But those complaints aren't mine. I am not an even-tempered man, nor quick to calm, nor known for my tolerance. My ease of mind when it comes to Doctor Who comes from no deep resource of inner peace. Instead, it exists for the same reason I am untroubled about the direction of the Star Wars franchise or the prospects for Meghan Markle's podcast. I have a mortgage, a gently arthritic knee, and the knowledge that life will not last forever. Part of the art of living, I have long understood, lies in knowing what to ignore. I don't care about the content of Doctor Who, but somehow I do care that the BBC has become so clueless as to present it as important drama. Star Wars can do what it likes, but the BBC is our national broadcaster, a part of our culture and our country's spirit. We all have skin in this game, even though those of us who cancelled our licence fee and disgusted the BB's coverage of Israel. I see Doctor Who being presented as a pinnacle of contemporary culture and feel as that a vital point is being missed. The horror of Doctor Who isn't Daleks or woke politics, is that these days we are asked to treat a mediocre kids' TV show as a major artistic achievement. Not everything need be high culture. Entertainment is low culture, and its pleasures are ephemeral. Low culture does not enrich history, but it does enrich life. But to do that, it must remain what it is. Pomposity is fatal. Writing for Doctor Who may be many things, but touching God, it is not. People make their own choices, and facing up to reality has drawbacks, but the BBC once defended the idea that maturity was desirable. Today, it offers a view of life in which intellectual seriousness is belittled as pretentious fraud. The effect is not only to diminish what matters most in life, but to suck the fun of out of what doesn't. The best TV show of all time? Light entertainment is wonderful stuff, but it destroys its own value the moment it starts taking itself too seriously. It's dangerous in life to forget what doesn't matter very much. You lose the chance to remember what does. The glory of Top Gear was that it made fun of itself because it recognized that life makes fun of us all. Growing older has drawbacks, but what it offers in return is the chance to grow up. Adolescents may dream that a handbrake turn or a TARDIS means something profound, but grown-ups, and the BBC, should not. Everything is what it is, and not some other thing. Pulp television can be joyful unless it starts believing it's art. Peter Capaldi's newly reincarnated Doctor Who in 2014 spotted his ethnicity and exclaimed with wonderful venom, "Ooh, that's good. I'm Scottish. I can complain about things. I can really complain about things." It was nicely light-footed and self-mocking. If the first female black, trans and gay leads entered with the same irreverence, I'd be delighted to hear. Send your reports and opinions immediately, please, to my unmonitored email address. I cannot speak from experience, since I ceased noticing the show once my kids stopped putting it on. I've no objection to watching, but the hours keep offering up richer alternatives and time is limited. Life piled on life, we're all too little, as the doctor might say, and of one, to me, little remains. I get the impression he's not impressed.
Yeah, I object to mediocre kids show. Just look at season 7. There we are. Yeah.
He won't know anything about that, though, will he?
No, exactly. No.
It's a different.
Who's John Pertwee? He's saying to himself. That's it. Yeah.
It's a different
Was that written by
program.
Russell T Davies? Got a similar flair to it, of waffle.
Yeah. Can you imagine if any of the young ones got hold of that?
Yeah.
You know, and I suppose he wouldn't really know the big words, but it's. I can laugh about it though. I can laugh about that because I generally think it is quite funny what he's saying there, and part of me actually agrees to a point what he's saying. When this thing comes off the air, life goes on. It's a telly show, you know, and yeah, we'll all be here talking about it and how bad it was in its dying days for years. I can guarantee you.
But the problem with this current eras and previous recent eras is it hasn't been taking itself seriously enough. That's the problem.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually, isn't it? That's a good point. But it also shows me how the not-we's now view the show yet again, you know.
Yeah.
And although I don't agree with this guy's politics, because there was something in there that I don't necessarily agree with, and there's other things I've looked at and I thought, oh, hang on a minute, no, you and I would have an interesting conversation. I do sort of see where he's coming from when it comes to Doctor Who. It's got to that point, and I think there's going to be more commentators during season 2 that come out, and they're going to be the two extremes, because we're going to have our favourite young lady from the Metro coming back banging on how brilliant the Juno Dawson episode is. We just know that. She's probably written it already, to be quite honest. Haven't you, love? You've probably written it. But it's bizarre, isn't it? Who viewers, where we're up to now. That's where we are with the British. This is the Spectator as well, which I know some of the Doctor Who people will get at all the time because it's right wing. Seems to be quite mixed as far as I'm concerned, you know, with various voices in it. But there you go. All right. Well, I just thought that was a funny thing to end up with on this show. It's now time to see what you're summing up. Oh, we've got lots and lots of people summing up for us here. Thank you so much for being with us this evening. It's great to see you all. I just need to go straight away. There must be an easy way to run this thing because we've got a lot of the chats. Lex Kane, it's nice to see you, Lex. Thank you for your super chat. Nice to see you. Texas-born actors Matthew McConaughey with Dennis Quaid and other Texas actors are doing their own film company in Texas. They're leaving Hollywood. Are they really? Wow, that is big, isn't it?
Yeah, good stuff.
That's big news. I wonder if that's going to have, thanks for that, Lex. I wonder if that's going to have any effect on certain alleged actors over here. Probably not.
Probably not yet, anyway.
It could do, couldn't it, though? That's really interesting. Yeah. Right, let's start with garbage then. To sum up, Juno is the worstest ever. Mason, to sum up, this is going to take some time, everybody. Stay with us. John Mason, to sum up, you know I'm always right. Legion of James, to sum up, Juno Dawson is not a victim. He is only receiving a dose of reality in response to all the hate, the misogyny, and homophobia he continually spews. I'm glad he is getting called out for it. I am as well, because he's had it too good for too long. He really has. And this is a great way now to actually get back and say, no, it's not because you're allegedly transgender. It's because you're a nasty, nasty man. Or, you know, protected speech here in the UK, by the way, tough titty. And now I think also possibly in America. It's all changed there. Small Swell Goat, to sum up, contemporary BBC writers forgot what subtlety is. Pink TARDIS with critique of Thatcherism always will be better than to look at the camera and blurt your message without metaphors. The thing with something like the Happiness Patrol is it went over an awful lot of people's heads.
Yeah.
Whereas when you're coming back talking about a whole personal pronoun, 2 scenes of personal pronouns and how transgenders can save the universe just because they've transgendered, please. That's not subtle, is it? That's just bullshit. Paul Schlefter, thank you. To sum up, William Hartnell is the first Doctor. Thanks for a great show, guys. Highlight of my week. Oh, thank you for that. That's really nice. And yes, hashtag Hartnell first. No discussion, no debate. Stephen L. Rees, to sum up, it's over after series 15. Whilst I want a Paul McGann series, it's never going to happen unless Paul turns gay. Doctor Who needs a rest and a detox from the last 20 years for many years. I agree with that one as well. I wouldn't want Paul McGann or anybody else doing the show at the moment because it does need that rest. It won't work. You could do what they've already done. They changed the entire production crew. They changed the cast. They changed the way the show was set up. And it's still crap. Yeah. You know?
It's worse, which I never thought I'd say. Much worse.
Worse. He didn't think he was going to be saying that 3 years ago.
No, I didn't. No, I didn't. No.
We genuinely didn't think it could get any worse, did we?
No, I didn't.
No. Well, we all hoped hope. Thomas McCarthy, to sum up, RTD is the only dictator in the village. It's his personal little Britain. That's the way he would love it to be. That's funny, that. And Bill Lowry, to sum up, it doesn't matter how you twist things, William Hartnell is and always will be the first Doctor.
He created the character. Give him some credit for that.
Yeah. Agent Smith, me, to sum up, you can't beat classic. Stellar X, nice to see you. Welcome to Whose Views. Not seen you before. We don't permit children to smoke, drink, or have sex. Why the hell is it appropriate to permit them to make self-determinate, life-changing decisions about their sexuality? It's crackpot. Totally agree. And that's one of the big things we've been saying over here, especially when they're at an age where they're starting to become aware they might actually just be having confusion over sexuality. We've all been there. Well, the majority of us have been there. And it's part of the growing up process. And it's really cruel and highly questionable in my eyes to cut off that growing up process and the joy of finding out who you are. It's what teenage years are about, isn't it? Really, come on, let's face it. And you've got to be safe and you've got to have decent adults around you who are going to tolerate your nonsense and put you through it properly. Thank God we all grew up in a proper age.
Let people find themselves in their own good time. That's the important thing.
Exactly. I mean, I mean, it wasn't easy growing up for me in the late 80s and into the 90s, but I had good people around me that helped me get me through it as I came to terms with my sexuality. Because in those days, it wasn't easy to do that because society shunned you, you know? Anyway, thank you, Stella. Tim Kins, to sum up, I hope Dawson goes up the creek. I see what you did there. Woodhouse 122, to sum up, Doctor Who Hiatus 2 coming soon. There's a trailer. I'll get it ready.
Oh, together, Doctor. No, sorry.
To sum up, TARDIS Travels, I don't think he will be produced anytime soon. To sum up, says Mudcrab, there will be no Doctor Who in 2026, 2027, maybe. But the fans need to accept this hard fact on how production lead times work. They don't, though. They think it's all. I mean, some of them think season 2 is being filmed now. I mean, the ignorance of some of them.
Well, Russell's written them all, hasn't he, for season 3? Is he not? That's what he keeps saying. But
yeah, well, he did, didn't he? So how diverse was that?
Whether you want them or not.
Yeah, Stephen Braddock. Yeah, they're all on his. Somebody nick his word processor on his laptop, quick. To sum up, I'm very worried about the Juno episode's content. If the BBC get this wrong, the public will roast RTD and the BBC alive. On such I'll bring the matches, he says. The BBC have got enough problems at the moment now, and this is going to add to it. I guarantee you, this will add to it. The Peter Venkman fan site, the writers have forgotten that Doctor Who matures with its audience, and RTD hasn't realised that. Lee Smith is saying to us, insult to the creative creators of Doctor Who. It's a British science fiction icon. It is. Badger 70, to sum up, if there's any justice in the world, Juno's episode will have the ignominy of being the first Doctor Who to go below 1 million viewers. I am sure I'm winning the ratings game. I am going to say
I'm not, but
1 million or less every ratings game we do in the new series of reviews where we're going to do that. Whilst to sum up, says Lee Smith, Juno identifies as a witch, allegedly. Problem being was saying about the article from The Spectator, I like this writer, can't we have him write for Doctor Who instead? He might come out with something brilliant. This is the thing, isn't it? You know, we've got people who don't particularly like or know science fiction, but they write stories, you know. So, you know, I don't know. To sum up, says Marjorie, Doctor Who has flatlined and will never come back. Mark A. Wright, to sum up, I give it 6 months before it's officially wrapped up. For good, question mark. What else? Any more sum up? I'm sure we have. I like this from Adrian. The Spectator is making a spectacle of itself. To sum up, St. Rosie Mead is saying to us, Hartnell is the first Doctor and the end is near. Paul Stenterford, to sum up, William Hartnell is and always will be the first Doctor. The original, you might say. Hartnell is the governor. The very reason why the show lasted beyond its first 3 years. Hashtag Hartnell first. Another one for Legion of James. Update. My 11-year-old nephew has finished Series 26. We have a new Uber fan. He's watched Pertwee to McCoy and is now wanting to watch Hartnell and Troughton, not caring that black and white. Loves it. Well, that's great news.
Fantastic.
Good
welcome
lad.
to fandom to Legion of James's nephew. Good to see you. Good lad. Yeah. And welcome. You've got a treat in store.
You'll love the Web Planet, I'll tell you now.
Yeah, and if you are tuning into the black and white years, stay with us after our headlines credits tonight because we've got something coming up just for you. So stay with us after our headlines credits tonight. Hopefully you'll like it all. Got some stuff coming up for you. What's all this? To sum up, after all this, the Blake 7 show tomorrow is going to be fab. It's going to be a bit of a distraction, isn't it, really, from all this that's going on. Adrian Sherlock, to sum up, Chibnall and Davies can take a hike. And Tyler Durden smiled, to sum up. Does anyone else think that back in the day we'd be spending so much time talking TQ plus and woke nonsense and not our favourite colour Dalek or our unrequited love for Leela? No.
Madness.
Isn't it just? And if only they hadn't pushed all this crap into our lives, into our favourite show, that's exactly what we would be doing, wouldn't we? We would be talking about our excitement for a new series of Doctor Who, but no. Oh, no. Steve Hindley is also saying, to sum up, William Hartnell is the Doctor, the original, you might say. Julie Goodwin. Julie, what are you saying to us? To sum up, RTD has soiled Doctor Who forever with his vile friends. It's hard to shake it, isn't it? Because it's there. Adrian Sherlock, to sum up, Hartnell was the beginning, Capaldi was the end. A lot of Doctor Who fans now saying that. Shelley Ingalls saying no one will ever watch this garbage because it's on Disney Plus. No one watched Disney Plus because of their woke. Yes. The woke shite, she's saying there. Yeah. Stephen Braddock, to sum up, William Hartnell's the first Doctor. He's the governor.
Yeah.
Totally. I like this one from Problem Being. And Tim Kins.
Point.
Tim Kins is saying to us, I read the article. It's not too bad, but in dismissing the woke stuff, he also dismisses Doctor Who generally and its influence. It's got something of a point, though.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. You know, I can actually see where he's coming from. And where I am at the moment now, I'm not going to take it to heart because I think part of it's funny and part of it's actually quite right. It's a telly show, which they've killed. Let's all move on, possibly, shall we?
But they need to kill it, though. That's the problem, isn't it? They could have easily fixed it and moved it on and kept it popular and entertaining and kept the fan base going. But no.
Yeah.
The goodwill was there. Everything was there for it to do that. And they ballsed it up.
They certainly did. Mark Milford. Thank you, Mark. To sum up, RTD has a preference for LGB characters to be portrayed as villains. The Toymaker, Maestro, Rogue, Captain Jack. It's not such a positive reinterpretation. Was the Toymaker an LGB character?
Well, he's played by a gay actor, isn't he? Though, isn't he?
Yeah.
But the character isn't.
The character's not.
The character isn't. The Celestial Toymaker, as he will always be known on this channel.
Yeah.
He doesn't have a sexuality. He's an enigma. He's an alien we don't know much about. Actually, a mate of mine said sometime around about Christmas, the Celestial Toymaker is the original Q from Star Trek. So take that, Star Trek fans. We were there before you again. Ha ha ha. Ooh, controversy here on Whose Views Live.
Having said that, the Doctor wasn't gay when he started, and now he is.
What was that?
I don't know.
Oh God, we'll probably get a copyright strip for that now. We're careful what we're doing. Duncan Evans, to sum up, I don't want woke Who. Give me Delta and the Bannerman any day. And Sheila B saying, to sum up, RTD and his acolytes need to go. PTA, Paul Thomas Ashworth saying, summing up, RTD adds up the Doctor Who ratings on his toy calculator, driven by his big ego, driving him to type millions of numbers. Certainly.
It's got big buttons on it as well. That's it.
Exactly. And, you know, that's what we're going to... The ratings game will be back for these new things. I'm going to be winning myself Whose Views pencils that are over there in the teapot. Stephen Braddock is saying to us, to sum up Whose Views, my perfect dose of sanity to end the week in style. Oh, well, thank you, mate. That's really nice of you. Thank you. We've also got here Richard Brooks saying, to sum up, we are not phobic for calling out bigotry, anti-Semitism, homophobia, misogyny, misandry, and the erosion of free speech. That's the other thing they are actually doing, isn't it? Yeah. They are doing that. To sum up, number 2, Whose Views is the best Doctor Who commentary? Get well soon, Jack's mum. And William Hartnell is the first Doctor. Thank you very much, and Spiel. Yeah. Robert Payne, to sum up, I'll be an old man before good new Doctor Who episodes are made again.
I'll be dead.
I didn't want to say that, but yeah.
So yeah.
And Lex Kane saying to us, to sum up, classic Doctor Who lives forever.
It really does.
Absolutely. And I think on that note, everybody, I think we're going to finish that all up there. No, Stephen L. Rees. To sum up, bring back bugs.
Forgotten about that.
Nah.
Oh,
Crime Traveller. I'm looking forward to that coming back. Yeah, why not? Yeah.
Oh, well, listen, everybody, it's been a big show for you here on this Sunday night. We do appreciate you all coming to see us and tuning in. It wouldn't be the same without your opinions. It also wouldn't be the same without the opinions of Paul and Third Doctor Ian. Thank you to you two. This has been a big show. Thank you very much. Wow. This is just, gentlemen, I'm going to say it. This is the tip of the iceberg when it comes to the Dawson one. This is not going away now.
Oh.
We've got lots to talk about as we get up to the episode. Lots to talk about as they watch the episode. I'm in two minds about whether or not I'm going to. It's very likely I will not be watching it. We'll deal with that near at the time. And then there's going to be lots of fallout after it as well, I'm sure. This is just the tip of the iceberg as they get towards series 2. Stay with us as we start to talk about all this crap that is coming our way. Wow. Again, thank you for subscribing to the channel. It means the world to us. Really, really does. If you are new to the channel, please subscribe. Give us a thumbs up as well, everybody. That does help here on the channel. If you have subscribed to the channel, please make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. It's lovely to see you all. We're going to be back with the Blake 7 review for season 1, episode 2 tomorrow, live on the channel at 8. That's Spacefall. Give you a little bit of time, hopefully, to go and watch that. And then on Wednesday, we're going to be back with our new series. More details of that coming up in just a few minutes. From Paul, from Third Doctor, and myself, a huge thank you for being with us. Great to see you all. Have a great day. Have a great night. Have a great week. We'll see you very soon next time here on Who's Views. And don't forget, everybody, when they drop a headline, we're going to be here to talk about it. Ta-ra, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Bye-bye.